Alrighty, alrighty. We're streaming. We're streaming. We're streaming. We're streaming right now. I'm changing my song, which I can do anyhow. My chat looks all wonky. I don't know what's going on. What's going on? There we go. We're streaming. We're streaming. We're streaming away. We're streaming today. We're streaming today. Today. Hey guys, how you doing today? Oh man, I don't know, dude. Like, what a strange kind of mental space I'm in. I feel like everybody. I went and did some grocery shopping today and had a conversation with the cashier. And first of all, the cashiers and the grocers and all of the people who have been working through this pandemic are like superheroes as far as I'm concerned. Like, these are the best people in our society. Like, we should get rid of all of the financiers, and we should get rid of all the bankers, and we should get rid of all these guys, the capitalists certainly, and just let the grocers run the place, right? They're the best people in the society, without a doubt. And the idea that, like, I was having this conversation with the grocer, and she was just being very open about, like, plastic bags and, like, the need to get rid of this stuff and, like, climate change and all of it. Like, she was probably, 55-year-old woman, and it was really, like, grounding to have this, like, very frank and open conversation with this grocer about how, like, yeah, we need to be doing something about this climate change issue. And there was absolutely no sense of denial on her. There was no sense of impropriety or impoliteness when she was talking about it. She wasn't speaking to me with, like, a wink or a nod or anything. Like, the way that this grocer was speaking to me, the way that this cashier was speaking to me was very much like, yeah, climate change is coming. We have to do something serious about it. Like, sure, we're banning plastic bags. And of course she said to me, yeah, we're banning plastic bags, and we're going to sell these, cloth bags 25 cents a pop, but, like, those are all going to end up in the landfill anyway, right? Like, that's not a solution. And it really, like, in a way, it was, like, sort of, makes me sad because of the apocalypse we're facing, and our delusional, out-of-touch leadership is doing nothing to actually address it. But at the same time, it was kind of encouraging because here is, just a regular member of the community that's just willingly accepted that this is the case and that we actually have to face this up. And I feel like this pandemic has really revealed a lot of things to people, that there's been a lot of delusion breaking amongst centrists and leftists, right? That, like, for example, here's a tweet that I found. The most troubling realization of the last 3 years, it's not that Trump's a racist, it's that nearly half the country loves him because he's a racist. That throughout the United States, there was always this kind of joke that, like, Obama got elected and so racism is over, right? And I don't think that anybody was standing up saying that racism was over in a serious kind of a way. There were people standing up saying that there was a movement to, like, a post-racial world, and that there was a movement to a more diverse, acceptant world, and all of that through the Obama years. But, like, Donald Trump really showed everybody that, like, oh, like, the level of racism, or at least the level of people accepting that their candidates or their representatives are racist, that level is much, 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 much higher than people thought. That, like, I think people were kind of hoping that like the racists throughout America would be down in like the 20 to 30% range. But no, it really isn't. That it's much, much, much higher. And like, and that people's tolerance for racist conversation and racist decision making is actually quite high throughout America. And so, and I feel like we're coming to a similar sort of realization in regards to climate change, that like there are lots and lots and lots of people who simply think it's a hoax or it's not important, and just that number of people is way higher than we initially thought. You know, we like to think that like it's going to be we like to think that like people are going to get on board with what is actually happening in the world and what's happening in reality. But and like this is how people are coping, right? People are coping with satirical kind of articles like this, like Canada's Delta-driven fourth wave of COVID-19 will be unlike anything we've ever seen, while death toll climbs, wealth inequality reaches all-time high, and billionaires take to space as planet literally burns. By part-time journalist, part-time delivery driver, one of three media megacorps. Like, it's just getting to the point. Like, I feel like this channel is just documenting the end of civilization, you know? And I get to wondering in a very serious kind of a way, like, what the hell am I even doing? You know? You know? Like, what the hell am I even doing? What is the purpose of this? Is the purpose of this to, I mean, certainly a large part of this is to try to convince more and more people to dig their heels in and to stop participating. And to, like, I hope that this labor shortage goes forever. I hope that we're constantly in this state. I hope that there are entire industries that can't survive. Like, I hope that there are major industries that do not survive this period of time. Well, Matthias, that's kind of you to say. Good to see you. You're trying, my friend, better than most can say. That's very sweet of you to say, Matthias. And I'm seeing this kind of thing manifest. Like, I've attempted to reach out and work with people, right? And try to build other podcasts and try to build other things and do other stuff. And it's so difficult. Like, I feel like this is one of the strategies of the capitalist death cult, is to just exhaust everyone so that there is no voice that can even stand up and speak out. And so that they can just do what they want. And of course, they're so delusional and so evil that they're completely willing to walk themselves and every future generation off of a cliff. And there does come a point where, like, I look at, like, people are saying and have said to me, like, John, you need to, like, think of the future and you need to plan for yourself, and, like, what about your retirement or any of this kind of stuff? And I'm like, none of that means anything to me. Like, none of that means anything to me. Like, and I think that that's something that I just need to articulate and say out loud and be really honest with myself, that, like, of course I'm terrified of my own personal future. Like, my own personal future and my own ability to be stable, you know, as I get into my 60s and 70s, right? And as this society continues to abandon everyone, like, there is definitely this sort of drive and desire, and I'll say of everyone, you know, get yourself into a position, if you can, where, you know, you're actually going to be taken care of in your old age, because this society is abandoning us. And I just don't see that happening for me. Honestly, like, I just don't see that happening for me, because I just don't see much of a future in what we're doing. And, like, So part, I feel, of this channel and what I'm trying to really articulate to people is like there's nothing for us in the future. Like there is no future for humanity. Nothing that nothing that anyone wants to participate in. Nothing that anybody actually wants to do. And if I grind myself into a retail job as like an assistant manager or even a manager, like I'm not going to be able to get a house for all that matters in the first place. Like I'm not going to be able to build anything. It's going to get swept away, as it always has been. Like I've lived through 3 economic collapses in this society. Like and my experience with capitalism has been that it doesn't matter what you build, it will be swept away. And that the people who have sort of benefited from this capitalist model are just the lucky few. And there are lucky few, right, who have like built something and then just before it gets the sweep away happens, they're able to turn around and sell it. Or they're, a farmer that was given free land by their daddy, who was given free land by the government. And so they're able to turn around and sell that and all of this. But like, it's all for nothing. Like that even the people who are the beneficiaries of the system, like their children are going to experience like an enormous apocalyptic event. Like, and people are living in La La Land. People are living in this sort of delusional space. And I feel like this channel exists in part to try to get people to like dig their heels in and try to actually do something about it. And when I say do something, I mean do nothing about it. Like, and I do mean literally nothing. Like, stop participating entirely. Like, stop pretending like any of this activity that we're doing is helping. Like, this is the insanity of the system and how foundational the trouble is with what we're doing. That we really are now in this position where, like, our leaders and our economists are all like caught in this cycle of saying, oh, we need to keep productivity up. That productivity is what matters. But if you are being productive at something that is destroying you, right? Like it's like I'm watching a heroin junkie say that injecting heroin is productive, right? Like that's the level of delusion that we're talking about now. That like, yeah, I got to keep injecting heroin inside of myself because that's how productivity works. I'm the most productive then. Hey, Igor, how you doing, bud? Good to see you. And and if somebody were to come up to them and say, hey, you can't, that's self-destructive behavior, right? Just sitting on a street corner injecting heroin, right? That's self-destructive behavior. And imagine if they scoffed at you and said, no, what are you talking about? This is super productive. What, do you want to destroy the economy? Like, this is where we're at. And it's just so, and so absolutely I think this channel exists as a place for people to come and hopefully figure out how to protest against all of this. But more and more, I'm starting to see that this place exists as a place for people to come and find solidarity and grieve. That we're all in this kind of state of grief with one another, and that's the feeling that I have all the time. Even as I'm trying to find like distraction or just moments of peace, or even while I'm, playing with my little dog or speaking with my friends or anything, there's this undeniable, overwhelming sense of grief that permeates every discussion and permeates everything that I'm seeing today. That the grief is so horrific and unavoidable and 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 directly in front of your face all the time, that your options are to either seek out people like myself who are attempting at the bare minimum to articulate this sense of rage and disappointment and grief, or the alternative is to just live in La La Land and to just continue ignoring that such a state exists entirely, and to just continue moving forward as if the situation doesn't exist. And I used to work in funeral services, and I saw this happen. I saw people who did this in regards to handling their own grief. That there were people who would weep and cry and seek out others and hold one another and all of that. And then there were people who would just like walk around as if there was nothing going on, as if they would busy themselves with some sort of task or something, anything they could do to not actually face their own grief. Hey Ruth, hey Damn Boxes, good to see you guys. Well, damn boxes, I think that's what it's all about at this point, right? I think that if you didn't feel that way, you wouldn't be here. And I don't know, like it just feels kind of odd to build a channel based around grief. Like, is that something that people want? Is that something that are people going to keep tuning in, day out, every day? Hey everybody, come grieve with me, let's cry and weep a lot. It just does feel like this is one big gigantic wake. Like it's a wake for humanity, right? That the fascists call us the woke crowd, but really they should call us the wake crowd, because that's what we're doing. I feel like I'm constantly holding a eulogy for not only capitalism but for humanity itself. That's really what this is. This is just like one gigantic funeral for humanity, and that like it's like I'm building not only a protest against the system that's creating these circumstances, which I certainly am. And if you send $1 my way, you can get into the Discord and join the organization that's just starting up now. We're spread out across Canada right now, but hopefully we can start connecting with one another and hopefully start doing some more serious stuff as this channel grows and as things come. And certainly, like, the protest is part of it, because we have to cling onto the idea that we can salvage this, that it is salvageable. We have to believe that that is the case. We have to believe that the planet is powerful enough that if we can find ways to stop this infernal madness, that the planet itself will heal and show mercy to us. We have to believe that. But then there's also the other side of it, which is to say that, like, you know, we have to find acceptance and find solidarity with one another and find a way to move forward in a society that is destroying itself, that is actively and genuinely and in very serious and in very real ways destroying itself. And we have to really truly begin treating the people who are walking around pretending like it's not happening, or who are attempting to pander to the idea. We genuinely have to start saying to these people that what they're doing is unacceptable, that is unacceptable behavior. It's delusional, it's scary, it's harmful, and frankly, like, and I've said it over and over and over again on this channel, I am not going to accept that we as a society are taking this seriously until the CEOs and shareholders of places like ExxonMobil and BP Oil are in jail, until we have fully incarcerated them. for their crimes against humanity, for murdering humanity, because that's what they've done. Because that is what they've done. And like these psychopaths don't even care about their own children. And like if we are gonna go down, like I'm not gonna go down without a fight. I think that's really what it is. I'm just not gonna go down without a fight. Ruth says, I've accepted that some that I know may not be here by Xmas because of that tinfoil hat thinking. Yeah, you think the Delta variant, eh? Like, are you talking about anti-vax stuff? Yeah, like I've got a really incredible article here. Come on, where are we at here? Yeah. Death by DeSantis threatens Florida as COVID numbers spike. As the governor jets around the country promising to lead the fight against public health mandates, Florida sees record levels of infection. Florida reported a jaw-dropping 21,683 new COVID cases on Saturday. Saturday alone. The highest single-day total since the pandemic began. The new figure is 10% higher than for the previous worst day, January 7th, 2021, which occurred at the peak of last winter's devastating surge. On Sunday, the data was even more chilling. Florida broke the previous one-day record for hospitalizations. The old record was set on July 23rd, 2020. During a surge that occurred months before people began to get vaccinations for the virus. While those who have been vaccinated are generally protected against severe illness, less than 50% of Floridians are fully inoculated, and some regions of the state are seeing high levels of vaccine hesitancy, along with outright rejection of public health mandates. There is a little part of me. Hey Misty, how you doing today? There is a little part of me that genuinely thinks that, like, sometimes it's fun to think of the Earth as a sentient creature, right? As a sentient and aware creature. Because if it were, well, the first thing that it would attempt to do would be to cull the society of the people who refuse to acknowledge that there's a problem in the first place, right? These are the people who refuse to acknowledge the power of the Earth itself. That the Earth is there saying, oh, these guys are literally killing themselves with this poison that they're infusing into the atmosphere. Well, that needs to stop. So how do I stop that? Well, I think a good way of stopping that would be to just send a virus into the society. And COVID-19, by the way, like, it's just like the flu +1, right? Like, this is what's literally shut down society. That capitalism and our society are so weak and so unable to handle the flu +1. Right? And it's sent into the populace, right? And what happened? We all shut capitalism down for a moment, and the Earth, what did it do? It started to heal itself. Because the Earth can do that. Because the Earth is more powerful than we are. By a lot. By a lot. And then, of course, we started to be like, oh no, the economy, because billionaires, and we need to care about these 10 guys who are sociopaths and trying to ruin our lives. And our society and humanity itself. And we need to, so we started ramping it up again, right? And we didn't pay honor to the virus. We let it spread around our weaker people. And now it's saying, oh, okay, well then let's give you the flu +2, right? So we did the flu +1. You guys have like a vaccine. Now we're going to give you the flu +2. And eventually it's going to be the flu +3. And it's going to continue sweeping through, right? And who's it going to kill? It's going to kill the people who refuse to acknowledge the power of the Earth. And hopefully, and I mean, this is a bit grim, I suppose, but this whole thing is grim, isn't it? So I'm not going to hold back on saying these horrifically grim things anymore. Hopefully, as the people who refuse to acknowledge the power of the earth die off, that the people who are left, the majority of them, will be the people who are standing around like me, saying, hey, the earth will wipe us out. Like, it will wipe us out. These are the warning shots on the bow. This is just like the thresher coming through and just being like, okay, let's take off the tops, right? Just like, shh. And if we don't actually just like duck and cover, if we don't actually bow our heads and kneel down and fall prostrate towards in the power of the earth, the thresher is going to come and just lop our heads off, right? And the thresher is just going to be like, oh, that's unfortunate, and move on, right? It's not going to give a fuck at all. It's not going to give a fuck at all. That what is happening today, like if you contemplate on the idea that the earth is a sentient creature, this is it doing us a favor, because it's saying to us, you know, I could just kill you. Like, I could. Like, I am far more powerful than you are by a great deal. But I'm gonna give some shots off the bow, right? Maybe I'll weed some people out for you, right? Let's get rid of these guys, right? Let's get rid of these people. Let's get rid of these Floridians. Let's get rid of, like, all of these people who are standing around pretending like the power of the earth is not more overwhelming than the combined power of all humanity by leaps and bounds in massive ways. And then maybe, after we cull humanity of these ignorant, illiterate, stupid morons who are literally defending a system that is destroying them instead of paying honor to the earth itself, hopefully that when these people have been culled and are gone, you'll come to your senses and bow down before the vast power of the earth. And until such a thing happens, like, we're probably doomed, right? Like, we're probably doomed. Hey Ward, how you doing, bud? Can someone be a centrist while at the same time on occasion holding somewhat extreme left and right values? Honestly, dude, like, this is something I've been wanting to talk about for a long, long time. Like, I just don't buy, I no longer buy into this left-right centrist kind of thing. Like, this is a way that we as people have just sort of structured the conversation so that we could actually, but like really the true conversation is, are you a psychopath or not, right? Like, that's where it's really come down to. It's really come down to this like, do you think people should have food and shelter? Like, that's not a left-right issue. That's not a centrist issue, right? That's not a political issue. If you think that people should not have food and shelter, you are a psychopath. And it is that clean. And the conversations that we are starting to have, in my view, are not left-right. They're not left, center, right, extreme, any of this kind of stuff. It's, are you a psychopath or not? And the people walking around, while the society is in free fall collapse, saying just go get a job, working for a system that's actively destroying you, they are psychopaths. Or at least they are the bootlickers of psychopaths, right? Like it's not left right anymore. It's literally survival or not. And these are not political positions, right? Like this political theory that exists in the way that we talk about things is useful, I suppose, for like traditionalist purposes, because that's how we've kind of always talked about it on all of this. But it's all just sort of just like money. It's just like a fairy tale. It's just like a little fantasy that we've created and generated so that we can kind of communicate about these ideas. But things have gotten so bad, and we have become so disrespectful and stupid, about this conversation, that the conversation is no longer political. It's about whether or not we think humanity should be alive, whether or not we think humanity should exist at all. That's the conversation that we're having, and I'm certain that that's not what you wanted me to talk about, but like, I genuinely only started calling myself a communist because I started asking, like, hey, why doesn't everybody just have food and shelter? I don't consider that to be a political position at all. Like, how could that be a political position? Imagine you had children and your wife asked you, hey, how do we feed and clothe our son? And you said, what are you, a commie? Like, you're just completely disconnected and delusional on a level that it can't even really truly be articulated. Like, this is going to be the great achievement of this generation coming up. And it's something that I myself continuously take a swing at, which is, how do you articulate the level of delusion and psychopathic behavior that is coming out of our society? How do you articulate the scale and the demonic nature of just the discarding, like, oh yeah, sure, that guy is drowning and I could help him just by kicking this rope into the water, but he should just swim harder. Like, that's the kind of shit I'm talking about. Where, like, to solve this problem would actually not be that difficult for the people who have the power to do it, right? But they just don't care, like, at all. It's just not even in their thought pattern. Like that interview that I watched that Stephen Harper gave, and I did a very short video on it, but, like, as I've steadily moved away from that interview, it's really beginning to settle on me, and I'm really beginning to feel it, like, in my bones in very serious ways, that, like, oh fucking shit, this guy was, and in many ways still is, the leader of the Conservatives here in Canada. And climate change is just not in the conversation at all. It's just not even mentioned. He doesn't talk about it. It's not part of his critique even of the left. It's not in the wheelhouse of debate. He doesn't bring it up. It's just not a concern. That's horrific. That's evil. That's literally like walking up to, like, a house fire, seeing that it's burning to the ground, seeing people inside the house screaming, begging for mercy, begging for someone to save them, while you're standing there with the fire hose. Like, you're literally standing there with the fire hose, watching this house burn down, watching the people inside of it die, going, these guys should just get a job. Like, holy fuck. So, like, this is like beyond politics now. Like, we're beyond left-right politics. We're beyond, like, extreme this or that. What's more extreme than watching your children burn to death and doing nothing about it? Like, which is exactly what they're doing. It's exactly what they're doing. They're watching their children burn to death while doing nothing about it. And, like, what's it going to take for these guys? What's it going to take? You tell me. I don't understand why he can't be stopped and arrested for murder. Yeah. I mean, like, why? This is exactly what I'm talking about, Ruth. Why can't we stop and arrest these oil executives who, like, over half of the pollution that has gone into the atmosphere happened after 1988, right? Well after the ExxonMobil's, their own scientists are saying that climate change is a serious issue. Their own scientists, the people they paid right? They're not coming back and being like, oh yeah, this is fine. They themselves are coming back and saying, yeah, like climate change is a serious issue and it's going to have major impacts on the environment and the society. And that's happening throughout the 70s and early 80s. And if those executives and those companies had have taken that data and said, oh, yeah, that's serious. Let's be honest about it. Let's work with the political forces. Let's transition away from this because we care about our own children, because we care about our society. But instead of that, they launched a major propaganda campaign. Like we have, like here's a document. Like Exxon knew about climate change almost 40 years ago. Here's a really great document coming out of The Economist. Here's this is something else. I have a really, really good one. Here's a great one. The Climate Deception Dossiers. This is an incredibly thorough document that it's a 56-page document that's going deception by the American Legislative Exchange Council, right? It's extremely thorough. They have the internal memos. They have the evidence. They have everything. We literally just need to go arrest these people, right? Put them in front of the Hague and send them to jail. Because what they've done is a significant and serious crime. It's a crime against humanity. It's certainly a crime against the societies. And it's being done so that they can collect pieces of paper for themselves. Like we're so fucking detached and delusional. It's insane. Hey, Demand Better, how you doing? Beautiful people. Well, oh, I see you say good day, fellow beautiful people. So you include yourself in the beautiful people. Demand Better. I'm just messing with you, bud. You know, it's really nice. It's really nice to be here with you guys. That's really what it is. And it's one of the things that I think that if I was contemplating earlier, for those of you who kind of came in later, like, what's the point of this channel? And, like, what's it for? And, like, getting into that kind of stuff. And a big reason, honestly, is, like, my own mental health, right? My own ability to kind of deal with any of this shit. And to know that I'm not living in isolation, right? I can't imagine, because I can't stop investigating this stuff. I can't stop researching. I can't stop. It's just something I can't stop doing. And the idea that I would continue doing that while living in isolation, not being able to send it out into the world somehow, yeah, I think that's where madness lies. I think I see that now very clearly, that, like, that's the path of true madness. Doing this research, having this information, but not sending it into the world, not taking that energy and sending it out. Hey DM, how you doing? Hey Mark, how you doing? What conservative ever acknowledges climate change? Yeah, Maxine B of PPC said in an interview, oh, it's just the weather changing. Like, what a fucking idiot, right? Like, that kind of stuff should be considered, like, childish, moronic shit. And the people who are, like, the PPC and the Conservative Party right now are more dangerous than the Nazis. Let me really be really fucking clear when I say that, okay? I'm not trying to be hyperbolic. I'm not trying to shock anybody. I'm not trying to like try to blow people's mind and then walk back down from it. Even the Nazis didn't attempt to eradicate the human species, okay? Even the Nazis weren't just shrugging in the face of a gigantic existential threat and saying, oh, that doesn't exist, right? That the modern Conservative Party and the modern Republican Party are more deluded and more terrifying than Adolf Hitler's Nazi party. And the people who are seizing power and leading those parties under these conditions are worse than Adolf Hitler and the Nazis. This is not hyperbolic. This is not extravagance. This is not like an eye-rolling, like, oh, the fascist talk again. These people are attempting to eradicate human life from the planet while simultaneously pretending like it's not a problem to do it. It's extremely dangerous, and these people have to be confronted, arrested, and incarcerated. Straightforward. Very straightforward. And here's the documents to do it. Here's the documents to do it. Right here. Here's a great... You can all have it. You can all have it. Here you go. You want all the evidence you need to go and arrest these people and put them in prison until the day they die. There it is. There's everything you need. And like, it's well collected, it's well argued, it's well put together. We literally just need a political class that has a backbone. So good luck on that front. New poll says the Kool-Aid drinkers will still vote Liberal in spite of gas prices reaching record levels and masses losing their homes through eviction and job loss. That's just sort of inertia, right? Like that's just the gullibility of the populace, and like the populace is extremely gullible, and the populace is extremely gullible and extremely skittish, right? Oh, I know, buddy, I know. Peanut butter time. Peanut butter time, buddy. What a good little boy. Oh, yeah, lots of peanut butter in here, buddy. What are you complaining about? There's so much peanut butter. Here you go, buddy. We all need treats right about now, I suppose. My little dog complaining because he's not getting enough peanut butter. It's like, oh, yeah, I can respect that. The populace is extraordinarily gullible, which is what's gotten us into this problem. Like, literally, we have these, like, reams upon reams of dossiers showing that we've been lied to, right? And even then, like, and it's all been just like, nuh-uh. That's literally all the oil company did, is it just kind of collectively went, nuh-uh, right? And we all just went, oh, okay. Well, I've seen, a big giant industry like this has never lied to us before, yeah. And we're also extremely skittish, right? We're very scared. It's easy to scare us. You literally just need to say, like, really stupid things like, well, if you don't vote Liberal, then the Conservatives will get in. And it's like, if you don't wear blue, then the red will get in. Like, who gives a fuck? Like, it hasn't mattered at all. Like, the Liberals' response to this climate change catastrophe has been so manipulative and deceptive and duplicitous. And their activity is just like, oh, yeah, they put a carbon tax in, a couple percentage points. Yeah, that's really mattered. Oh, they're banning straws. Yeah, that's really fucking mattered. Yeah, and we're about to go through, we are about to go through a mass eviction, right? That part of, like, it's really, really clear to anyone who has eyes to see it that the Liberals are trying really hard to just, like, get past the finish line, right? They want to get through the election. That's what they want. And then they're just going to drop everything, right? If they get even a minority government, I think. I think that their ideology of self-destruction is so baked in to the liberal ethos, and their allegiance to the capitalist death cult is so thorough that they can't maintain the deception for much longer. And so they're just going to continue maintaining the deception until after the election. And even if they get a minority government, they're going to drop it completely. Like mass evictions, they're going to cut all of these services if they can. Don't be too surprised to see this next election result in a vote of no confidence, right? Because if the Liberals get a minority government, well, the other parties can do a vote of no confidence on the Liberal Party. So don't be too surprised to see that quick turnover happen, because the Liberals can't maintain this deception any longer. Their allegiance is to the capitalist death cult. They don't care about the populace, right? That their interest in holding power is only in service of themselves, and then in service of the capitalist death cult, and any crumbs they have to throw your way to maintain personal power for themselves can't overwhelm the power of the capitalist death cult. And if they do throw out too many crumbs, then the capitalist death cult turns against them, right? And that's no good, because they want to stay in the good books of the death cultists. And so eventually there comes a point where they have to abandon the populace and then pay full fealty to the capitalist death cult, and that's going to happen after this election. And if they seize a majority government, it's going to be 4 years of hell. It's going to be 4 years of deep, dark hell. Like, worse than the Conservatives by a great deal. Because when the Liberals start pulling the switch, they're going to start pulling the switch on the disabled. They're going to start pulling the switch on the elderly. They're going to start pulling the switch on people who are living in precarious, like, gig kind of economy kind of places. The mass evictions will be enormous, right? Because the capitalist death cult demands sacrifice. And it's quite straightforward, in my view. Like, I've said it over and over again on this channel, like, liberals are worse than conservatives, because at least conservatives are honest about being psychopaths, right? At least conservatives are honest about saying, yeah, we're going to abandon you, right? The liberals are the ones walking around being like, no, we're all in this together, and we'll never abandon you, right? And then they do. So, in my view, liberals are much, much worse than conservatives. Like, the liberals could have already passed a basic income like 5 times over. They could have already done that. Like, but they're not interested in that. They don't give a fuck about the populace. They care about power for themselves. And that's the only reason why liberals concede anything, is because they want power for themselves. And it's the only tool they have to distinguish themselves from the conservatives in meaningful ways, is to make these, like, minor kind of concessions. Oh, you don't have to live in squalor and in the dirt, I guess. Here's enough for food and shelter temporarily as we get through this pandemic. Mark says, doing well, happy I'm acting in a haunted house soon. That's exciting. That's exciting, Mark. That's exciting. Like, acting in a haunted house, what are you going to be? Do you know what you're going to be? More importantly, Mark, what do you want to be? Like, what's the thing you want to do? What's the thing you want to do? Keep up the reporting. Great reports about climate change. Thanks, bud. Honestly, I feel like the corporate media and the mainstream media is leaving, like, an enormous lane open for me, right? Because, like, they don't report on climate change. They don't report on this stuff, right? And so I'm steadily starting to realize, like, oh, yeah, like, if there's nobody who's actually doing, like, regular reporting on climate change. Oh, hi. Could be me. Could be me. It's something that I always want to talk about, because it is the generation, it's the generational defining issue. Like, it's literally going to be the same thing as World War II for us. Like, World War II for is it the silent generation that went through World War II, or the greatest generation? The greatest generation goes through World War II, and they just literally cannot stop talking about it. Like, we have, like, documentaries and movies and miniseries and films and all of this kind of stuff about World War II after the fact. Climate change is going to be the same thing if we defeat it. Even if we don't, right? There's just going to be massive amounts of people who are going to be, and there's going to be enormous amounts of space in the market for people being like, oh yeah, here's how climate change happened. Here's a great document to use, the climate deception dossiers, where we've been completely lied to in mass scale ways. There's a little part of me that wants to literally read this thing, that wants me to just go through it. I do that from time to time. I haven't done it in quite some time, but, like, I go through, like, major documents and I actually read them out loud and record them. I did that for the Venezuela, the UN Venezuela report. I did that so that anyone could have access to it. It's on my channel somewhere. It's buried by now, I'm sure. But I should dig that back up. I should dig that back up and put that as, like, a link at, like, the very top of the channel, just so that people can see, like, yeah, if you're walking around saying, look at Venezuela, go fuck yourselves. Listen to this. You don't even need to read it. Just listen to this. And I should do the same thing with this, because, like, these people should go to jail. Like, they should go to prison forever. Like, no, you don't get out on good behavior. No, I am happy with taking these people, locking them in a dark cell where they get no sunlight, and throwing moldy breadcrumbs at them for the rest of their lives until they die, which I hope is sooner rather than later, because I don't even want to pay for them to exist. Yeah. Not all conservatives are bad. Robert Stanfield was a rare exception. Stanfield was pro-UBI. Well, and the conservative movement does have a long history. This is what's so insane about the modern conservative movement, and why it's clear that it's completely detached from reality. Like, it's lost the ability to actually articulate intelligible thought. Because in the Conservative Party here in Canada, like, there was the Red Tory movement that happened, and the Red Tories were very reasonable, very rational people who, like, throughout, a Red Tory government took control of Manitoba throughout the 50s and 60s, and they tripled the size of the Manitoba budget building the education system. Can you imagine a Conservative government tripling the size of a budget in order to build something? Like, we don't build anything. Our Conservatives aren't interested in building anything. Our Conservatives are interested in destroying the planet through war and climate change. Like, that's what they're interested in doing. It's very difficult to perceive and imagine a Conservative that was actually interested in building something. But it happened. It existed, right? Not anymore. Not anymore. And honestly, it's like someone like Robert Stanfield, he'd be a liberal today. Like, he'd be a liberal today. He wouldn't be a conservative. Today he would be a liberal because the Overton window has shifted so dramatically to the right that that like the Red Tories wouldn't be conservatives today. They would be liberals. Absolutely, there's a huge vacuum. You do a friggin' great job. Well, thank you, Matthias. I appreciate that. You guys can never stop complimenting me. There's no amount of compliments that you can send me that I will not read out loud and then be grateful for. Mark, won't know till late August. Love to play conspiracy theorist. The theme is World War I and World War II. Oh, bud, there's lots of fertile ground. There's lots of fertile ground. But you're going to be in a haunted house, right? Come on, dude, you gotta go for zombie Nazi, right? You gotta go for zombie Nazi. Like, you gotta. It's so rare to have an opportunity to play a Nazi. Oh, DM, you're always pitching for me, man. You're like my hype man. You're like my hype man in the chat. Best compliment, send John money. $6 signs, LOL. If you wanted to send me some money, like, share, subscribe, hit all the bells, hit all the whistle, comment, right? There's lots of free stuff that you could do that helps out the channel. But, sending me money wouldn't be terrible. Patreon in the description. Even $1 helps. And sending $1 means that you get access to the Discord, which is the central kind of organization hub of what we're attempting to build here. Got to fight capital with capital, yeah. As long as we've got the capital, we got to capital that capital. Ah, you hate capitalism and yet you use capitalism. I'm very intelligent. Matthias asks, what do you think about this CRB reduction? Yeah, I mean, that's how they're going to do it, right? Like, and it's I always knew from the very beginning, like, when the Liberals passed the CERB, I had a little moment where I was like, oh, maybe they're going to do it. Like, maybe they're actually going to pass a basic income, and that basic income will actually be a permanent fixture. And if Justin Trudeau and these Liberals had actually passed a basic income, they would have been heroes. They would have been heroes. They would have for sure had, like, their next government would have been a majority government. They would have ruled until Justin Trudeau didn't want to rule anymore. Like, really, I think that that the Liberals and Justin Trudeau, like, really missed this enormous opportunity to show people that they weren't working for psychopaths, right? And it became obvious that they realized that because the Conservatives started to critique the Liberals, saying that the CERB was too much because we needed to enslave the populace, and if you have a CERB, then it's hard to enslave a populace. And the Liberals generally agreed. That I think that the Liberals came back and said, oh yeah, you know what, you're right. It's hard to enslave a populace if you actually take care of the populace. So we need to pull back on the CERB. And so the Liberals admitted that what they did was a bit of a panic and a mistake. And they did that by breaking the CERB apart into the CRB and the CSB and like a CWB and like all these other programs. And they did that so that they could start to decline it. It's divide and conquer, right? You decline it here, so it affects a small group of people. They get kind of mad about it for a moment, and then it eases off, and they sort of forget about it and move on with their lives. And then you move it down over here, and then this group kind of gets mad and all that kind of stuff. And then you just kind of keep incrementally lowering it so that you don't have big cutoff moments where the whole population is experiencing something all at once and can turn and blame the liberals for this. And so that's their strategy, right? Their strategy is to steadily decline these benefits and abandon people in kind of a trickling sort of a way so that people don't kind of put together that their abandonment is happening because of these liberals, which is exactly what is happening. The NDP have been the ones that have kind of been digging their heels in a little bit. I think also that the NDP are allowing the CRB reduction to happen right before an election because that's kind of a bit of politicking, honestly. I'm very skeptical of these NDP. Like, I'm very skeptical of these NDP. We'll see what their ad campaign looks like. We'll see if they are actually interested in mobilizing the populace into a war effort, because that's what it's going to take now. It's going to take a mobilization of a war effort. And if they do anything less than that, then I just think they've been bought. Which is completely possible. Like, it's completely possible that just capital just buys the political system, and that we just like kind of march to this climate change apocalypse silently, you know. Like, if the NDP do not even attempt to run a war effort campaign, like, all that's left is rebellion. That's all that's left, is complete and total wholesale revolt and rebellion. There's nothing left. If the NDP are not willing to launch a war effort, which is exactly what we need, no, it's full scale rebellion or nothing. DM says, not just Trudeau, Chrystia Freeland and Carla Qualtrough made it abundantly clear they do not want UBI as part of their discussion. Yeah. Like, I mean, why would they don't care about the populace, right? Like, I mean, for God's sakes, Chrystia Freeland's grandfather was a Nazi sympathizer. Like, the idea that, like, these liberals serve capital, and capital seeks to enslave the populace. That's what it's here for. That's what it does. The system that we work with is wage slavery, right? We call it capitalism, but it's wage slavery. That's what it is. We get paid a pittance, like literally 10 times of the amount of our labor is what we're generating from what we get. And we get a small survival pittance so that we can scrounge around and find our own rent and find our own food. If the capitalists, the wage slavers, decide that they don't need us, they just abandon us and tell us we'll get a job, you lazy bum. And if we can't find a job, then we get kicked out onto the street, and then they pay more than it would cost to actually feed and shelter us in police services to assault us with cops, right? And that fact by itself should tell you that the system is not about creating a stable working system. The system is about enslaving the populace. That's what the system is for. That's what it does. That's what it's about. Because if it wasn't about enslaving the populace, and it was just about efficiency, well, then the far more efficient option of dealing with your homeless and dealing with your people in poverty would be a basic income, because it's cheaper. It's the cheaper option. You save so much more money doing it that way, but that's not what it's about. It's about enslaving the populace, keeping people in this system of wage slavery, and maintaining this capitalist model that is literally burning us to death. That's literally burning us to the ground. While, former prime ministers delusionally say that we're the nihilists. Yeah, okay. Damn boxes. War effort from the NDP. Hell, I'm not even sure if they're going to run on UBI this upcoming election. Yeah, I don't know what they're about. Like, everything that's coming out of these guys is just kind of orange liberalism, right? Like, it's just this weak, wimpy, limp, like, and what's so sad and kind of pathetic about the NDP is watching them consistently get outflanked on the left by these liberals, right? And they consistently allow it to happen. And yeah, if they're not going to come out on a UBI or something along those lines, like, I don't see how they're a serious political option, right? I mean, I still suggest that we all vote NDP, if only to scare the shit out of the Conservatives and the Liberals, right? Like, a big reason why Stephen Harper has been pounding on, like, why they keep saying, like, the Anglo-Western civilization and all this kind of shit. The reason why these guys are saying this is because Jagmeet Singh is a brown dude with a turban, right? Like, they are just kind of, like, think about what it sounds like when conservatives say we need to protect our Anglo-American civilization to someone like Jagmeet Singh. What's that sound like to somebody like Jagmeet Singh? Right? We need to protect our Western Anglo American civilization. Right? Like, really slow that down, really talk about that and think about that in your head, and imagine that you are a Sikh, that you are like a brown dude, giant beard, turban on your head, seeing these guys talk about how hard we need to protect Anglo-American civilization. Well, protect it from who? Protect it from what? Well, it's to protect it from barbarians like Jagmeet Singh. That's what it's for, right? You can't have brown people in the conversation, right? You can't have that. A brown guy can't be the leader of this civilization, right? What are they going to do? They're going to enact Sharia law. Just wait, by the way. Just wait. If Jagmeet Singh actually starts to become a legitimate threat and starts to, like, spike up and starts to grab at power in a serious way, they'll bring that Sharia law shit up. They'll for sure bring that Sharia law shit up. Even though I think, like, I'm pretty sure that as a Sikh he isn't a part of Sharia law, but that doesn't matter, right? That doesn't matter. Like, you wait. If Jagmeet Singh starts to climb up the ladder and starts to actually seize power and gain enough political support, the outright overt racist shit that's going to come out of Canada, out of liberals even, is going to be real shocking. Well, shocking to other people. It won't be shocking for me. The NDP have high donors as well. Sadly, there seems to be no alternative. All parties, even the Greens, are bought out. Yeah, and this is why it's dangerous to have a billionaire, right? That if you have billionaires in your societies, this is the outcome, right? That it takes people of moral conscience and strong will to actually say no to the billionaire class. And we don't have any of that. Like, the people who are at the high points of our society are the most simpering, weak-willed, childish people that a society can generate. We don't have strong-willed people. We don't have people who are willing to fight for anything, right? We have propagandists and salesmen. That's who we have. At what level of profession do we get to stop calling people workers? We don't. This is something. This is a very clever ploy that was inflicted against the populace. The division of workers into white collar and blue collar, as if there actually was a distinction between those two, and the kind of self-denigration of the workers to get the workers to fight amongst themselves. And now we've got major divides in between the unionized and the ununionized. And these major divides, and what's so pathetic is that, like, at best, like, some of these workers are making $100,000 a year, right? Meanwhile, like, your owners are walking away with billions and billions and billions of dollars that you make for them, right? You generate that money for them, and we're just, like, stupidly bowing our head and stupidly going along with this while spitting on someone who is ostensibly doing the same kind of labor you're doing, right? Oh yeah, he's not like fucking working with a machine. Instead, he's like reading court cases and shit. Oh fucking oh wow. Like instead of he's like drawing blood and working as a doctor instead of like as a construction worker, and yeah, and you're like literally defining yourself based on these almost irrelevant parameters. Like, you both wake up in the morning, you both shovel food into your face, you both commute to a job that you both barely tolerate in order to pay for the house or the rent that you have access to. You both go home exhausted. You both maybe see your family for, 30 minutes, or watch a TV show, and then go to sleep and wake up and do it all over again. That's everybody's lives. It's everybody's lives in this capitalist system, right? No one is better than anyone else. No one is better than anyone else. And the only people who aren't doing what I just described are the psychopaths who are actively structuring the society to burn down around us. So, like, literally, you just complaining about, like, some white-collar worker, doctor, lawyer, engineer type, it's just you deflecting your anger and anxiety away from the people who deserve it, which are the billionaire class, the psychopath class, and instead of focusing on how to collapse this system, you're just grumbling at some other worker because he's making slightly more than you are. Like, and this really flows into, like, how childish and gullible and skittish the populace is, right? That, like, we can be deflected with such mundane stupidity, just such like a mundane, like, there's this great gif that goes around where there's a guy sitting there and he's got a pile of Oreos. Beside him, there's like a guy wearing a hard hat, and he has one Oreo, right? And then beside him, there's a poor-looking dude who's all dirty, and he's only got like little crumbs of an Oreo, right? And then the rich guy does one of those things where he like taps the worker guy on his other shoulder, so he looks over, and then he steals his cookie and puts it on his big pile of cookies. And then the guy looks back at the rich guy, and the rich guy goes, "Oh, he took it." And then the worker turns and grabs the poor guy and starts to beat him up. Like, that's exactly what it is. Like, we're very gullible. We believe anything we're told. Like, we believe anything we're told. We don't even pause for a minute to have even a momentary glimmering of skepticism, right? Even the momentary glimmering of skepticism. And we just do what we're told, and when it all fucking, like, this is going to be the most heartbreaking thing to watch. I think the hardest thing to watch is going to be to watch the people who have really pushed their chips all in, and it has been the hardest thing to watch. It's been the hardest thing to watch the people who have really pushed their chips all in on this society and have done all the right things and have made all the right choices, and did everything that they were told to do and believed everything that they were told to do by the people they were told to believe in, and they've been fucking abandoned. Like, that's tough. That's tough, right? It's one thing when it's like somebody like me who's like kind of a bit crazy and a bit detached from everything. Like, I understood that we've been abandoned since like I was 20. Right? Like, there's no mystery. You just need to look at the society. Like, you literally just need to look at the society for like an hour, critically, right? You just need to take a look at it and be like, oh, let's have a critical analysis of our own society to realize that it's structured to destroy itself and abandon everybody that's in it. That's how it's structured. It's very obvious. And but if you don't do that critical analysis, in many ways it's like watching, like, we've all seen this or we've heard this story where like a woman is in a relationship with an abusive man, right? And everybody is standing there being like, why doesn't she just leave this guy, right? But she's so gaslit and beat up and she doesn't, and scared, right, that she just keeps going along with this arrangement, and there's nothing anybody seems to be able to do about it, when, like, there are obvious solutions, right? There are obvious solutions to what should happen to a man who is doing this to his wife, but we're not really willing to entertain them. So and that's kind of what we're facing. We're going to be facing a whole lot of people who are going to be abandoned, whose lives are going to be outright destroyed by this climate change apocalypse, and they're not going to quite understand what's going on, right? They're not going to actually understand what's going on. And they're going to be angry, they're going to be distraught, they're going to be in despair, because they're realizing that everything that they believed was a lie. But they'll lack the ability to articulate that, right? They simply won't have the ability to articulate their own abandonment after they sacrificed everything in order to do what they were told. It's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough to watch. And it's going to, and I strongly believe it's going to really begin happening after this election, should the Liberals even seize a minority government. Like, the Liberals are definitely going to abandon us. They've already started the process, right? And the only reason we got, like, any of the supports we got whatsoever is because the pandemic also affected the rich. And they were scared, right? Because at the end of the day, they're stupid, scared little children. Well, the upper middle class, like, the trouble with a big problem with our society is that we created a strong upper middle class and a middle class generally in this society through regulation and government intervention. And then we dismantled it. And while we were dismantling it, the upper middle class boomers, right, that's who we're talking about, didn't believe it. They refused to acknowledge that the system that allowed them to thrive was being dismantled. And so they end up sounding like total psychopaths because they're telling, Gen Z and millennial kids I was able to get a job and I was able to do this kind of stuff. Yeah, because the system was designed to allow you to do that. And the system today is not designed to allow anybody to do that, right? Which is why people are abandoning it in large-scale ways, which we should do. We should completely abandon this society. Like, this society, like, I say it almost daily now, like, this is a society that someone would invent in a fiction novel as a joke. That they would be like, we need Rick and Morty to land on some planet and there needs to be a really fucked up weird society there. So here's a society that I'll invent that no one would possibly ever tolerate living in, so that Rick and Morty can kind of riff about how fucked up it is. And this is the society that they would create. And as Rick and Morty, like, launch off the planet to go on whatever thing that they're doing, the planet would actually light on fire as the people on the planet were continuously working as hard as they could in order to light the planet on fire. Like, that's literally what we're doing, right? Like, we're working as hard as we can. We're exhausting ourselves. We're tired. We're frustrated. We're angry. We can't even get fucking laid, right? Like, we're so focused on productivity and putting the hammer on the anvil and just being like clank, 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 clank. And what are we working so hard to achieve? To light the planet on fire. It's a pretend, like a cartoon society. It's like it's a society from a comic book. It's a society from like a Rick and Morty sketch. And like as they fly away, the planet lights on fire, and the viewer goes, "Ha ha! How unbelievable! Oh, Rick and Morty, here it is. Like here it is. It's just like we're just like fucking cartoon characters." And like people ask like what's the meaning of life and like what are we all here for and all this kind of stuff. Well, this could be a cartoon sketch. Like that's all this could be. This is just a cartoon that's come out of the mind of the divine energy. That the divine energy is just sort of sitting there being like, what if I made a society that destroyed itself? What would that look like? And it created this stupidity. Like, and there's, if somebody could tell me I'm wrong, like I would love to hear it. And this is the other part about it, right? Like, when you attempt to engage denialists and people who are like, oh, it's not such a big deal, and you start to actually talk to them about it, they just completely disengage. They literally can't even talk to you about it. Because talking to you about it would actually mean they would have to actually do something. Yeah, it's been set up to keep the Mucky Mucks busy fighting each other, yeah. Well, but the thing is that's so fucking, like, this is what's so terrifying about that kind of position. Like, that's, like, what you just described there is not much different than what humans have always done, right? The ruling class has always divided and conquered the society. It's always done that. It's always pitted elements of the society against one another. That's not new. And in many ways, that's just like politics 101, right? You can just read Machiavelli's The Prince to see that that's the case. Like, it's very explicit. It's well understood. It's always been that way, no matter what structure there's been, whether it's like tribal chiefdoms, a dictator, a council, a theocracy, any of these, a democracy, any of these. There's always a divide and conquer element to keep the society fighting against itself instead of fighting against their owners and their rulers, right? So it's very classic. But now we're in a situation where the consequences of acting this way is the destruction of even the ruling class. That the ruling class is actually going to destroy even itself with this. And so now we're entering a period of time where we're not, like, it can't simply be like overwhelming evil. Like, it can't just be like the enslavement of the population for my own personal wealth and benefit, right? We are talking about a kind of like delusion, a kind of blindness, an inability to see what is factually the truth by the people who are in the best position to see it, right? Like, if you're the ruler of America or of Canada, you're well aware. Like, you're in the best position to see it. Like, the only reason that you're not is this kind of willful blindness. And it's a willful blindness that is even going to destroy the ruling class itself. Like, this idea that we're going to go into some kind of like Hunger Games scenario, right? Where like the ruling class exists in like this glittering city and like everybody else is in this kind of death. Like, no, that's not going to happen, right? Fire will cleanse this place. The level of flame and fire and hell that we are talking about is not going to be escaped because we like ran into a glittering city. Like, that's some delusional child bullshit. That's some like teen novel bullshit, right? Like, the heat will melt our infrastructure. Like, we're talking about like people being baked alive in the transit tunnels. Like we're talking about like the surface of fucking Mars here. Like, I'm not talking about some fucking childish like small scale bullshit. Like, oh, we'll just sell our houses and move somewhere else. Yeah, good luck running from the sun, right? Good luck running from the fucking sun. Good luck running from like the atmosphere having holes punched into it. Like, good luck with any of that, right? Good luck, like, just, oh yeah, I'll just move over one state and that'll be better. Like, fuck you. Like, the sun is unrelenting and it will burn this place down. It will absolutely burn this place down. And the idea that our ruling class is legitimately standing there saying, oh, but we need to do something about the economy. Instead of this, it means that they're completely fucking delusional, right? And this is completely possible, by the way, or psychopathic, right? That they genuinely are like, oh, good, I get to murder millions of people on my way out. That I'm going to die, and so millions of people are going to die too. Right? Like, I think that there is, like, a genuine element of that our ruling class has just become so psychopathic and so detached from any emotion other than the glee they get from spreading suffering, that the idea of the sun burning down an entire city is something that they're looking forward to. So, and there's our options, right? That's our options. Our options is that our leadership are completely deluded, like literally like an old man sitting in the corner being like, America's the greatest country in the world and communism is the friend, but I remember when I was in Vietnam and America's the greatest, and America, like that. That's option A. And then option B is, good, the cities will burn down and millions will die. I look forward to smelling their corpses as they rot inside my nostrils. Option B. A, B. Those are your choices. Like, that's what you have to choose from. And if you think that that's something that's tolerable to you for whatever reason, yeah, just keep fucking voting. Right? Don't riot, don't rebel, don't join protest movements, don't lock down infrastructure, don't do any of that shit. Just keep going, oh yeah, liberal. Fucking normal society, right? Like, we're completely normal. And in the meantime, the Biden administration approves $3.4 billion helicopter sale to Israel. What do you think $3.4 billion would do for, like, the people of America if they actually spent $3.4 billion on literally anything in America? What do you think that would actually do? Do you think it would help people? Do you think people would be better off if they got that $3.4 billion that they're spending on helicopters in order to commit a genocide in Israel? Do you think that it would be better off if they actually took that money and used it? Did you see the cops with assault rifles evicting homeless off of Venice Beach? Jesus fucking Christ, man. Venice Beach, cops evicting homeless. Ugh. Loading, 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 loading. Let's see if we can find a better. It's from the Daily Mail. While this is loading onward, I need to make fun of you a little bit. I noticed you just subscribed to the channel.
When you're planning for retirement.
Is that right, bud? Like, you just subscribed to the channel? It popped up on my feed. It was like, Onward to Dystopia. Dude, you've been here for like a month. Maybe longer than that. All right. I'm just grinding your gears, bud. I don't care. I don't know about that song. So yeah, they've got fucking assault rifles. Look at this crazy shit. Look at this crazy shit. Like, the most harmless, couldn't possibly be weaker kind of people. And like, this guy in the back is pointing the gun at them. Right? Like, what is this in service of? Like, what is this in service of? What is this actually doing? Oh yeah, you went through and did like an unsub, you did like a purge? Yeah. And I got swept up in the purge? Oh no! Well, I'm glad you're back, Onward. I'm glad you're back. I knew it was something like that, dude. It's totally cool. I'm just grinding. I'm just grinding your gears, bud. So Gaza, 4 hours of electricity per day, 97% of water is contaminated, 50% of children express no will to live, 70% of children suffer from PTSD, 70% of children experience regular nightmares, 70% of young people are unemployed, 60% of babies are anemic, and no one can leave. This is what they have planned for the rest of us. You want to know what the plan of our leadership actually is? You want to know what the plan actually is? Just look at Gaza. Just take a look at Gaza. You'll see really clearly what their plan is for the rest of us, right? That as the society collapses, as the society continues to disintegrate, because it's already collapsed. Sorry, I just watched dudes with assault rifles pointing them at homeless people. The society has collapsed. Like we're done. We're in like a police state. We are not addressing issues in any kind of serious or meaningful way. This is a failed state. Like America is a failed state. It doesn't serve the needs of the people even a tiny little bit, and nor does it care to even try, right? And so the plan from these rich psychopaths is that this is the plan. It's just to continue disintegrating and continue squeezing as much blood as you can get out of the stone as the society continues to disintegrate. And once the people actually come up and rise up and actually start to do anything, I suspect we'll see some gunnings. I suspect that that's what's going to happen in America. I had to purge. I can't take these libs anymore. Yeah, I respect that, bud. Like, everybody goes through this, right? And as we grow up, right, as we become more... I'm really seeing it because I'm what they call an elder millennial, right? I'm like right on the cusp of being a millennial. And so I see all these sort of like younger millennials and then getting into the Gen Z, and they're kind of coming on up. And I'm seeing them go through the transition of like, you know, central kind of liberalism, right, and electoralism and all that kind of stuff. And very quickly, especially Gen Z, like it's taking the millennials a little bit longer to get there. Gen Z is already there, where they're just like, where's the protest? Let's lock this place down. Fuck it all, right? And like somebody like Stephen Harper is standing up and saying that these kids are nihilist while he's literally locking like children into an open air prison. Like he works with Israel and he funds Israel in order to do this shit. And we know that this is his plan for us. That this is what he has planned for us. And yet we're the nihilists because we don't want to experience this shit and we don't want to tolerate a society that's actually working to destroy human life this way. Like 50% of children express no will to live. Yeah, Milo, that's right, buddy. That's right. Oh, you guys are going to get some barks because Milo is sick and tired of these fascists. What video is this? Oh yeah, here's Doug Ford's daughter talking about the new information coming out about COVID.
This off with a filter on my face. I'm like, dang, I'm so cute. And I was like, guys, you need to know the real me. This is the real me. This is what I got in the mail today. So I'm gonna read it to y'all. We can all help by getting vaccinated. Here is what you should know. The vaccines are safe. 19 vaccines have been studied for over a year now, and hundreds of millions of people have already been vaccinated. The vaccines are effective. They work with your body's natural defense to develop protection against COVID-19. The vaccines cannot give you COVID-19. Might want to fact check that. You need the second dose of a 2-dose vaccine. The first dose gives...
So this is Doug Ford's daughter, right? This is Doug Ford's daughter. Like, this guy needs to get the fuck out of here. Like, these guys need to get the fuck out of here. It's just unbelievable. There's an Arab phrase, the dogs bark, but the caravan moves on. That's the left, but the dogs are barking at each other. Yeah, there's a bit of that. There is a bit of that. I mean, we don't really have a left. Like, I don't... Who's the left right now? Who would you call the left here in North America, right? I feel like the left that exists are just, like, very disassociated and disconnected, but I do know what you're saying. Like, the left eats itself and it disorganizes itself, and it's a strategy. It's a strategy amongst like the CIA and the FBI to try to get people into these movements in order to create disarray. Right? It's a strategy. It's a well-known strategy. It's something that they do on purpose. So like this reputation of like the left fighting amongst each other and disorganizing itself, I mean, that's partially true, but there is also like, yeah, when the CIA infiltrates your organization and disrupts it internally, that's what's going to happen. It's so cute when people come in and say sorry for like being late or missing the last stream or any of that kind of stuff. That's so adorable to me. In my view, it's the pleasure is all mine. Like, the pleasure is all mine that you guys are here. Really. Like, I really, really mean that. The pleasure is all mine. So I'm glad that you're here, Crouching. I'm glad that you're here. It's, we're just kind of... Yeah. Here's a great tweet that's going to send me somewhere. Today has made it very clear how many people would have absolutely justified slavery because of the economy. Oh, okay. Okay, hold on. You get to be on the stream. Wah! 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 That's what happens, buddy. That's what happens when you get all up in my business. When you get up all in my business, you get lap time and you get to be on the stream. Welcome to the stream with Milo Pants. Welcome to the stream. He really likes to dance. Except he doesn't at all. I inflicted upon him because he's a little pug. We're taking a little pug break, aren't we? We're taking a little pug break. Yes, it's important. In the midst of this hellscape-ish declining thing, be sure to play with a dog or a kitten or an animal or something. Like get into the world, see some sunlight, right? Ward likes to say that he likes the walk and talk videos because it reminds everybody to get outside and go for a walk, and absolutely. Onward, I listened to one leftist berating another leftist about January 6th for 2 hours. I'm like, can we get this angry at someone in a position to do something about January 6th? Yeah. Well, and leftists really do get caught up in minor technical stupidity, right? And because of this, like, these minor technical arguments, it wastes a lot of time. And ultimately it sounds really childish. Like, when people rightly accused Sam Harris of being a racist for his views, he would be like, I'm not talking about race, I'm talking about religion. And so, like, they created, like, the phrase Islamophobe to talk about him, which he was, like, technically trying to rebut with some other stupid argument. And in the end, no, he's just a fucking racist. Like, he's scared of brown people and he's scared of Muslims. It's really, really clear. And he's creating these kind of like stupid, pedantic arguments that really only leftists are going to believe. Like, people on the right are just like, yeah, that Sam Harris guy's against those Muslims, right? Yeah, oh, yeah. Like, they don't give a fuck. It's only leftists that are getting caught up in this like stupid like, I'm not talking about race, I'm talking about religion. Yeah, a religion practiced primarily by which race? Right? Like, so don't fucking bullshit me. And that's all it is. It's just a way to fucking bullshit. And in my view, the biggest trouble with online discourse amongst leftists, such as they exist, is that many of them are more concerned about their channel. than they're concerned about their society. And like there's an honesty to that, but like it means that they need to constantly be chasing trends. It means that they can't be focused on the truth. They have to be focused on what's popular. It means that they have to, they really do have to continue listening to the will of their supporters or any of this kind of stuff. That they can't have a dissenting opinion against where their money is coming from, right? Oh, I know. Oh, I know. Oh, I know. What's this, buddy? What's this? Oh, it's just a little mud. Oh, you're a little muddy putty, are you? You're a little muddy puggy. Yes, you are. You're a little muggy puggy. A muggy puppy. Okay, buddy, we're going to put you down. We're going to put you down. What a good little boy. Oh, I know. I know you hate it when I pick you up. But how else am I supposed to put you down, man? Wow. Good boy, buddy. And then he leaves behind, like, all this ridiculous hair. Literally, by the end of the day, I have enough hair to make another pug. It's just ridiculous. Lost every ounce of respect for Sam Harris, especially when he joined his dark web buddies, which is all far-righters. Well, to me, it was the pro-torture argument, right? Like, he created this, like, ticking time bomb scenario in order to justify the actual and real torture of Muslims that was actually happening from the Bush administration. Like, it was all deeply, deeply rooted in, like, very, like, cartoonish, like Sam Harris's depiction of Muslims in his literature, right? You can go read it, Letter to a Christian Nation, all this kind of stuff. His depiction of Muslims in that is as cartoonish and aggressively racist as anything I've ever seen written about Muslims. Like, it's extremely brutal. And the only type of person that can read what Harris has written and not be like, that's fucking racist, dude, is somebody who either just doesn't really care, like, or who is actively a racist. Well, and to be fair to us, right? To be fair to people who I think have looked up to Harris and perhaps still do, Harris really did go after the fundamentalist evangelical Christians. And he should have. I'm glad that he did. So in that regard, sure, right? That, like, in the science versus delusion conversation, he's been somewhat useful. But, like, the guy is, like, a brutal, brutal racist who supports torture. So, like, maybe his going after the evangelicals isn't good enough, right? Although, I mean, we should continue going after the evangelicals. Like, I mean, you take a look at what it's manifested, right? Okay, I'm gonna go use the washroom really quick. Do I have a video? I feel like I keep telling myself I'm gonna get a video queued up so that when I do this, I can actually play something for you guys. Nope. So you're just gonna get a brief moment of dead air, and then I'm gonna talk about this tweet. One moment. Hand farts. Haha. Okay, so today has made it very clear how many people would have absolutely justified slavery because the economy. Well, guess what? They did. In the book, Cotton is King and Pro-Slavery Arguments, which was written during the lead up to the Civil War, people absolutely defended slavery by strictly economics, in strictly economic terms. That they wrote enormous pages and enormous tracts saying that you can't abolish slavery because we make so much money with slavery. That slavery is, in order to afford our readers some idea of the extraordinary development of this branch of native African industry and commerce, we append a statement which will exhibit it at a single glance. We have only to observe that we are indebted to Mr. Thomas Clegg of Manchester for these interesting particulars and the quantity orders that have been obtained from Etobicoke alone. And what he's talking about is a chart of how much cotton the slaves are producing for the Union, right? That literally during the slave period, perhaps these same planters can use immigrant labor as successfully as slave labor. If necessary, doubtless, they will make the attempt, notwithstanding the opinions entertained beyond the sea. Like, literally saying, like, okay, well, if slavery does get abolished, well, maybe we can find immigrants to do the work, right? Like, Cotton is King. This book, Cotton is King, should be taught to every 10th grader. You shouldn't be able to graduate from school without having read and understood this book. Cotton is King is a very, and the number one reason why I think everybody should read and understand Cotton is King, so that when you hear people arguing in favor of wage slavery, or in favor of another form of slavery or something, they're going to use an argument that's in this book. This book's incredibly thorough. Look at it. Look at it. This book's incredibly thorough. The people who are writing these books are some of the most educated slavers in America. And some of the most well-educated white people, obviously, throughout America. And they go into, like, and here, the Bible argument on slavery, right? The Bible argument on slavery, the economic argument on slavery, the philosophical argument of slavery, titles like The Education, Labor, and Wealth of the South, right? That these is a series of essays. Oh, I know, buddy. I know you're looking at your Kong and you want some peanut butter, right? I know, I'm talking about slavery and the history of slavery, but you can't have that when there's peanut butter. When there's peanut butter to jam into your little face. Like, this is another book that I have to go through again and kind of create a smaller, like, Cole's Notes version of, or try and find if there is a Cole's Notes version of this. The argument from the public good. Why slavery is a public good, right? I could just keep going, man. Like, it's very, very thorough. I wonder, can I please? No. Yeah. Liberty and Slavery, or Slavery in the Light of Moral and Political Philosophy. Slavery in the Light of Social Ethics. Slavery in the Light of Political Science. Slavery in the Light of Ethnology. Slavery in the Light of International Law. The Bible Argument for Slavery, right? Like, this book is like a cavalcade of human horror that is all arguing in favor of why slavery should exist, why it's important that it exists, why it's right that it exists, why God believes that slavery should exist, right? Cotton is king. You read this and understand it, and then you listen to people like Ben Shapiro. You listen to some of these senators and Congress people from America. You listen to guys like Jordan Peterson. You listen to these guys, and you see it. You see it. You see the reverberations throughout history and in the society. Their arguments come from here. Or at least if they think they're making them up, they don't realize that they've already been thought of before in here. And and what's fascinating about this, in connection with my previous argument about wage slavery, is that these guys thought that wage slavery was worse than chattel slavery. These guys made the argument that wage slavery, the system we're currently living under, wage slavery, is worse than chattel slavery because under chattel slavery, the slave was your property, right? So if there was no work to do, or if there was a period of time where there was relaxation, well, you still had to pay for the food and shelter of the slave, right? You couldn't just abandon the slave. He was your piece of property, right? And if you did abandon him, well, you probably weren't going to get him back, right? So you had to actually pay for their food and shelter, even if there was no productivity to be done. Whereas a wage slave, once the work was over, you abandoned the slave. And the slave had to go find food and shelter for himself. And if there was no work to do, then the slave would become destitute. Right? This is how they talk about this. Not only that, this is exactly how Abraham Lincoln ran on the abolition of wage slavery. He ran on the abolition of wage slavery. It's just that after the Civil War and the total gutting of the nation, he didn't have the political will, and the populace lacked the political desire to fight another fucking goddamn war over this shit. Because these guys end up being fucking total psychopaths, right? Who are literally willing to go to war in order to maintain their system of slavery. Absolutely vicious. But like the way, and we're seeing the consequences of maintaining a wage slave system in the society. That the people who are in charge of the society become psychopathic and delusional and deranged, even as they stand there and very calmly justify their horrible actions. Like, you can listening to modern defenders of capital sounds no different than, like, literally I'm flipping to like a random page. Let us, for the sake of argument, concede to these gentlemen that Onesimus was merely the hired servant or apprentice of Philemon. What then follows? If they are not in error, it clearly and unequivocally follows that St. Paul's words of emancipation were intended not for slaves merely, but for hired servants and apprentices. This sounds like some fucking Ben Shapiro shit right here, right? Let's say, for the sake of argument, right, concede to these gentlemen that he was just merely a hired servant or apprentice of Philemon, right? What then follows? If they're not in error, clearly it was unequivocally follows that St. Paul's words of emancipation were intended not for slaves merely, but for hired servants and apprentices. Fucking Ben Shapiro, right? A worthwhile and necessary read if you want to really see these guys for what they are. Wage slavery still persists in our society today. Most of us are wage slaves. That we've only managed to find the wage slave situation tolerable up to this point because of enormous pressure from labor unions and labor movements that have been completely dismantled. And so we are falling back into wage slavery, right? We are falling back into it because if we don't actually abolish the wage slave system and abolish the rule of man by other men, then we see that just the most deranged and delusional and detached people take over the society and in turn are completely willing to destroy it, including their own children, right? Climate change wipes us out, and they're gonna be the richest corpse, I guess. Yeah, pretty much. Cannot believe I used to look up to this guy. It is by Thomas Armstrong. I don't know what you mean by that, bud. 4 January 6th cops suicided. Yeah, sorry to change the subject. I haven't looked into that very much, so I don't know if they were suicided or if they committed suicide. I mean, it's quite possible that they just committed suicide. Like, the... Oh, buddy, I know. Peanut butter, right? You're really losing your mind this time. Here you go, buddy boy. Here you go, buddy boy. Like, imagine how difficult it would be to dedicate your life as a police officer in, like, Capitol Hill, right? And it's the same I've been saying about the high level of suicides in the military, right? That the military is... Imagine being a kid who, like, joins the military in order to defend your country or whatever, and then realize that, nope, you're a fucking demon in this, like, demonic machine that exists only to destroy and enslave. Like, you're gonna fucking off yourself. That's why a lot of people who join the military commit suicide, right? And I feel like the same story exists here with these January 6th cops, that they're just like, they've come to recognize that their system exists to destroy, exploit, and enslave. That's what it's for, and that's how it operates. And they're beginning to recognize that they have always been part of that. And once you turn that corner and recognize that, oh, I've been the foot soldier for this Nazi enterprise, like, can you live with yourself? Can you live with yourself? Can you literally wake up and look at yourself in the mirror knowing that you've been a Nazi this whole time? Right? And lots of people can't. Right? And it's not like there is a movement. It's not like there's a place that they can go. There isn't like a hotline they can call. Right? There's not like a person that they can talk to. There isn't some sort of organization or force or any of this kind of shit that's actually pushing back or fighting back for any. And even if there was, would it accept him? He's a cop. Right? It probably would spit him right out. So what does this guy do? Right? Now that he actually has a moral conscience, now that he realizes that his whole life he's been a Nazi, and there's no defense of it, well, what do? And it's not weird that your initial reaction to that is suspicion. Like, it could be that they were suicided. Like, it could be straight up. But I look at that and think, well, what would be the point? Like, why are these guys getting suicided? Who benefits from that? Like, really, who benefits from that? Like, unless these guys are going to be, like, major whistleblowers somehow, right? But I feel like if I am one of these January 6th cops, if there's some kind of conspiracy that I'm going to out and like, whistleblow, then, like, probably would have already happened, right? So I don't think that they are whistleblowers. I think that they just are dudes who realize that they're on the side of evil and have committed suicide about it. Which is very Shakespearean. But I think it's natural to be suspicious of this. Like, after Jeffrey Epstein, like, we shouldn't trust a single thing. Like, Jeffrey Epstein was murdered. Like, he didn't kill himself. The official, like, to genuinely believe that Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide, you just have to be completely delusional. Like, you got to be living in a fairy tale. I just don't even know how to describe it. Like, the method that he would have needed to use to commit suicide itself already has an incredibly low rate of suicide, of being effective and working. The cameras turned off. The guards were told to go away. Like, what are we, fucking babies? Like, obviously this guy was murdered. Obviously. And there's a really good reason why he was murdered, right? He was murdered because he was likely going to whistleblow. He was likely going to tell people shit. Because he had already been in prison once for this. They weren't going to let him off the hook the way they did the first time. The first time Jeffrey Epstein went to prison for having sex with little girls, he only served 2 years. Right? Like, they really, like... But this time, Jeffrey Epstein was making like international headlines. There was absolutely no way that that was going to happen. And so it was very likely that he was going to turn on a lot of powerful people. And so they obviously murdered him, right? And so ever since that moment, I think it's perfectly normal. It's perfectly normal to be like, yeah, you should be suspicious of this. You should be asking yourself, who benefits? What information could these guys have had? What would the conspiracy theory have looked like? And maybe there is one, right? There could very well be. But everything that I'm about to say is just strictly speculation. But it's extremely believable to think that the Democrats and the Republicans colluded in order to create an insurrection event so that they could justify more heightened security and erect a more entrenched and deeper police state. There's a great conspiracy theory speculation for you, right? Well, why don't we get all of these QAnon guys all riled up and whipped up? We'll get Donald Trump to whip them all up in a frenzy and have them storm the Capitol, and that'll let us build more security infrastructure, and that'll let us build a more entrenched police state so that when people actually start to rebel, we'll be ready. There you go. So, we got some cops who were involved in January 6th who are going to blow the whistle on this. They know a little bit too much, right? There you go. There's your speculative, no evidence at all conspiracy theory. Completely believable, though. I'm very good at what I do. My problem, I think, is that I have a conscience. My problem is that I actually care about things like truth and morality. If I really wanted to, I think I could make a whole lot of money being like one of these Alex Jones types, right? If I was just being like, okay, the January 6th was an inside job by both the Republicans and the Democrats. That they came together and they colluded, saying we need to make a plan to work against the populists, you guys. And so what they did is they got their inside guy, Donald Trump, to whip up these QAnon guys. And they got their QAnon guys in there and they said, okay, storm the Capitol. And they stormed that Capitol and they moved it on in. Like, why do you think like all of this like investigation shit is gone like nowhere? Right? I think they've like tried like one person. Like I think one person went to prison. John, are you more for workers owning their labor because a good path to start would be worker cooperatives? Yeah, Rick, that's Richard Wolff's solution to worker co-ops, and worker co-ops exist, and they are a thing. Like they are a thing. Like when I say that people should stop participating in capital, that they should start seeking out worker co-ops. And they should start saying to their, we could transition Amazon into a worker co-op, right? That's essentially what you're saying when you're saying nationalize these things, right? Like transition it into a worker co-op. Like you could nationalize it and have it state run if you like. Worker co-ops are fine, and there are many successful ones. And in fact, there's lots of evidence to show, like evidence that comes out of like Harvard University, showing that co-ops are that co-ops are more productive than standard normal models, right? And it makes total sense. Like if you own your own labor, you're going to work harder. Epstein is one of those things everyone knows but can't really do anything about it. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we could. Obviously we could. Right? We could all take to the streets and shut this place down. That's what we could do. Like, that's what we could do. We could literally all go out into the street and shut the place down. But that's going to require actual organization and actual timing, right? October 15th, right? Again, worth stating, October 15th. There's probably going to be big events around all over. Yes, John, you should monetize yourself like Alex Jones. Yeah, I'm trying, dude. I'm doing my best. And again, I'll say that's more up to you guys than it is up to me. My Patreon is down below. You could send $1 my way. It's easy to do. It's easy to do. Doesn't take any time to set up whatsoever. And then you also get to join the Discord where we're organizing on a deeper level. trying to get organized across Canada. We've got several channels set up so that if you're living in BC, you can organize with other people who are living in BC. I bring up BC because I've got one fellow who is in BC right now, and he's very, very motivated. He's very, very motivated. He would very much like to connect with a lot of people and get very involved. And so if you want to get connected with him, it costs you $1 in my Patreon. I hate that shit, man. I hate that shit so much. I wish that I could just do this. I wish that I could just do this. Like, I would gladly do this for free. I would gladly. Like, if my food and shelter were not a concern, I would just continue doing this. Like, I fucking hate that I've got to turn around and sell myself. I hate that I'm on a timer. I hate that it's very likely that I'm going to have to make a decision at some point about this channel and my need to sell myself to the capitalist death cult. It's coming down the line, and I know it is. And I'm going to try to get just a part-time day job, hopefully. We'll see. Something to just pay those bills. And I'm going to hope that I can keep doing this channel and keep this schedule. Because 6 to 9 p.m., right? So if I work until 5, get home, eat something, launch the channel, launch the thing, right? It's doable. So if we had a UI, capital wouldn't be as much of an issue. Yeah, which is why we'll never have a UBI until they're out of ideas, right? Until things have gotten so horrible and despondent that it won't be until we're literally clawing at their necks about it, right? That's when they'll finally do it. You are providing an invaluable service 3 hours a night, 5 days a week, $100 per session. Yeah, I wish I was making $100 per session, dude. If I was making $100 per session, I'd be set. Oh, don't worry, Misty. I know. It's the great tragedy of the position that we're in, is that we're all so fucking poor and abandoned and dejected that and thank you so much for your donation, by the way. I pay $1.50. That's brilliant, dude. That's brilliant. There's this great biblical story where an old poor woman goes and puts 2 shekels into a donation bin at the temple, and this rich guy comes by with gold and makes a big show of it and throws his gold in, and Christ says that this old woman has donated more than you ever will. And that's how I feel about that, Misty. I feel like your $1.50 donation means a lot to me. It means a lot to me because I know you're having to make a choice, right? I know and it's not something that I take lightly. I just fucking hate the money. I hate it. I've always hated it. It's always felt so grimy and inhuman, It's always felt inhuman. It's always felt so dirty and just and like a tacit admission that we don't actually give a fuck about one another, That's really what it is. It's this tacit admission that we don't, we could actually deal with this issue structurally. We could say as a people, no, everyone should have food and shelter, and that's just dealt with structurally. And it's a tacit admission that we care about one another, but we don't, right? But that's just it. Money is not what puts food on the table. Labor puts food on the table, right? There are people who are actually working in fields. There are farmers, right, that are actually doing the work. And those guys are not the primary beneficiaries of their own labor, right? That wedged between them and us is this distribution. Why do you think Galen Weston is the second richest Canadian? Because he wedged himself between the farmer and the table. Well, that's very sweet of you, Misty. But yes, I understand where you're coming from, DM. The monetary model exists. We need money in this system. It would be nice if I could get an infinite amount of money. It would be nice if money was not even an issue. It really would be. And that's my wish for everybody. That's my wish for everybody. I remember people keep trying to insult me by saying, like, they'll see my stream and they keep trying to insult me by saying, like, oh, you have such a, like, small, irrelevant life. You're living in your stupid small apartment. Like, who cares? And, like, literally I look at that and I'm like, yeah, like, I agree with all of that. Like, my life is small and irrelevant. And we are, like, I do have a small apartment. And, like, you know, and one guy was just like, I hope you're happy with that. I'm like, and I am. I would be. I would be perfectly happy living in even a smaller apartment than this. I actually think the apartment I'm in right now is quite large for me. It's quite large. It's much larger than I need. And like like over here I've got like a hallway that goes down to like a bedroom. And if that bedroom didn't exist, like if over here I've got like a couch, and if that couch was gone and that was just like a bed, and like my apartment was basically just like the kitchen area and then this area, like a bachelor unit, I'd be perfectly happy with that. I'd be perfectly happy with that. I'm not. I feel like I'm not asking for a lot. Like this is how desperately bad things have gotten in our society, that I feel like we're not actually asking for a lot. Like we're asking for small spaces where we can have our stuff, and like just live a little life where we read books and maybe tend a garden, right? Like do like small scale kind of stuff, like, and just spend our temporary time here the best we can, and then you know, die. And it's not, and like people keep trying to ping me with this like sense of self-aggrandizement. They're trying to get me to feel bad that I don't have ambition for anything grander than just living a small, you know, what I consider to be a normal life. When I go out and I look at the squirrels and I see my little pug and I see the birds flying through the air and I see the the coyotes walking through and I see all the wilderness and everything, like it's all kind of just happy to be here, and it's all perfectly happy with their lot in life. And if my lot in life is to be in a small apartment, you know, kind of just poking at society, reminding it that it should actually be a fucking real society, well, that's good enough for me. That's good enough for me. Money is not the issue, it's the value and hoops and hurdles that are set up to prevent you from ascending so you can be a good little servants. It's the oligarch that are the problem, they need to go. Absolutely. What do you think about all that great reset stuff from Davos? It's just another chance for the elite to control us more? Yeah. I mean, yeah, dude. Like let's be real clear. Like, they are talking this great reset game because they know that shit is about to get real. Like, they know that their economies are about to collapse. That they know their economies are about to collapse. They know that this climate change issue is going to rear its head. They know all of this shit is coming. They don't have a plan for it. And their plans are really, really fucking destructive and scary. And so they're saying this great reset shit as a way to sloganize us and to control sections of the populace that are willing to go along with it. So you will hear once shit starts getting like really tumultuous, you will hear leadership start saying, don't worry, this is all part of the Great Reset, that things are still, while things are unstable now, they'll stabilize in the future and things will improve. It's all the same shit they said about trickle down, right? They'll take all of the trickle down shit, right? All of the lies and the bullshit that they told us about what trickle down was going to do for our society, and they'll replace trickle down with the Great Reset, so that they'll buy themselves a couple of more years, maybe another election cycle, right? From a gullible, skittish population who's willing to go along with whatever they're told, when the reality is these guys are just biding their time, waiting until they can just go boop and just let us go, right? That's what the Great Reset is all about. That's what the Great Reset is all about. It's a propaganda piece designed to distract us, designed to keep us from lifting up the pitchforks, grabbing the nooses, and coming to their houses. That's what it's for. That's what it's about. And it's all based on the fact and the reality that they know that the society is about to collapse. Well, that the reality of the fact that the society has already collapsed will become too undeniable, right? That we are going to be living in a massive depression where there's going to be increasing levels of homelessness, increasing levels of poverty. We are literally, like, that's where we're at already. And they're doing everything they can to invisibilize it. They're doing everything they can to pretend it's not a thing. But eventually they're going to have to start saying, like, oh yeah, we're in the midst of this great reset. So don't rise up in rebellion. Don't overthrow this system of oppression that we've erected around you. Don't do any of that, because things will get better soon. And they have no intention of improving any of this. They have no intention of even trying. Right? They have no intention of even trying to improve this, right? That they are just trying to find an exit strategy for how they can abandon us effectively, and the Great Reset is part of that. You know what's a great idea? Those small little homes they're building, that would be badass. Yeah, we're not asking much, but the sociopaths want us to be homeless and miserable. Yeah. Like, well, I can't imagine what a counter argument to that would be. Like, it's obviously what's happening. Hi, Bishop. How you doing? I can't remember the last time I've seen you in here. Good to see you. The problem I have with the idea of labor putting food on the table is the current problem we all have of jobs for the sake of jobs. Yeah, need to end the jobs cult of ego and excuses. Yes, I absolutely. As an unemployed person with disabilities, I have to view it more as consumer rights, not workers. Well, and not even consumers. It's just human rights at this point. It's just human rights. Like, we have the right to be here, obviously. None of us asked to be here. We were just generated here. We were just created. We're just here, right? And every one of us has the right to be here. And every one of us has a right to have access to the things that are required of us. Food and shelter. The system demands we have food and shelter, right? The system demands it, right? Like, this energy that created us for whatever reason we're created has said, you must have food, you must have shelter. If you do not get these things, you die. And so providing those things and allowing everyone to have access to those things is a moral good and a moral, it's something that we have to fight for. It's just, it's righteous to provide food and shelter and to ensure that everyone has food and shelter. Wedging yourself in between these systems and withholding food and shelter is therefore a great and demonic evil, right? Taking food and, like, literally producing food and throwing it into trash bins, throwing it into garbage bins, and then hiring cops to keep people from coming and getting it from the trash bins, right? That's what's happening. Like, that's an enormous moral evil. It's enormously evil to do this. It's enormously evil to withhold food and shelter from people who need it, because the system we have demands that we get it, right? The system itself demands that we get it, and we've erected a civilization and a society that has a machine that generates these things on our behalf, and yet instead of allowing us access to the machine, the owners of the machine, or the means of production if you prefer, say, you have to sell yourself into slavery or you don't get to eat or have shelter. These people are evil. There's no other way to say it any longer. Like, they're evil. And if we just removed them from the conversation, gave everyone access to the means of production or the machine that's been created, everyone would get food, everyone would get shelter, and no one would give a fuck about these capitalists at all. Like, at all. The only reason they matter is because they've withheld necessities from us. And it's evil, and it's demonic, and we should get rid of them. Yeah, screw mini homes. We should all be seizing en masse the hundreds of thousands of vacant homes. Yeah, exactly. It's absolutely unbelievable to me that, like, They're clearing out parks with assault rifles and shit. That they're clearing people off of beaches. People who are like in tents with no property or anything. They don't have anywhere to go. And they're like clearing them out with fucking assault rifles underneath skyscrapers that are fucking loaded with empty units. Like it's startling. Like it's startling that this is the level that we are willing to sink as a people. But you got to remember, and this is something like let's get real deep, right? If you read your Bible, right, and if you do some research on your Roman history, the same guys that are walking around pointing assault rifles at homeless people, well, not that long ago, they would grab those people and nail them to a board and put them up as a warning sign to everybody. For sure they would do that. We can regress back to that. We can regress back to that, and we shouldn't pretend like we can't. And this trajectory that we're on, this system of abandonment and this system of self-destruction and this system, like this constantly unfolding horror show, we can definitely get back to that. We can be nailing people to crosses and shit. We can do that. For sure we can. The Great Reset is probably the forfeiture of ownership and agency due to a manufactured perception of indebtedness. It's a very technical way of saying that, Bishop, but I think you're completely accurate. It also costs more to maintain the poverty that exists. I say that all the time on this channel, bud. You're absolutely on the money. Because it's not about creating a stable society. It's about enslaving the populace. That's what the system is for. And they're willing to pay more in order to get that outcome. Right? That if it was about actually creating a stable system and a stable society, then there's all kinds of things that they could do and be successful doing it. But it's not about creating a stable society. It's about enslaving the society and having them do what you want, right? And that's the purpose of the capitalist system and the capitalist society. I firmly believe we will cease to evolve until we eradicate poverty worldwide. I mean, I think that there's probably truth to that. Like one of my great theories about space exploration, and like it's obviously built into the human imagination that we will colonize other planets, right? Like I think that's like really built into the way we think of how this is going to go. That we want to expand, we want to create bases on the moon, we want to create colonies on Mars, we want to do this kind of stuff. But none of that is going to be possible if we are at war with ourselves. If we are at war with ourselves, we will never, ever, ever go into space in any meaningful way. And the only way that we're actually going to create a peace, a lasting peace with ourselves, is if we deprioritize all of this human bullshit, like money, right? Like this persistent thrum for resources and oil, and just learn to be in balance with the world that exists. Because if we are at war with ourselves, then we're going to constantly be destroying ourselves up in space. And if you haven't noticed, space is unrelenting and completely unforgiving. Like, they're talking about building a moon base, and I'm literally like, so let's say that Russia and China create an alliance and try to build a moon base. Like, if I'm the American Space Force, I just need to lob a can of nails at that. Right? Doesn't need to be a big fucking thing. I don't need to shoot a missile or anything. Right? I literally just need to get an astronaut out in space with some nails and just lob it at the fucking thing. And that's the end of that fucking moon base. It's done. Right? Like, the damage that can of nails is going to do to that moon base is going to absolutely destroy it. And then you get a crack in any kind of window or any infrastructure, that thing shatters, the air sucks right out of it. Like, And that's just, and it's so fucking easy to do, and there's such a high level of plausible deniability that you can just do that shit. And that's what they're going to do to each other, right? And that's not even including some of the more sinister shit, like because there's no like shielding and shit in space, right? The only shielding that exists is the stuff that you're generating, right? So if they've got like a little moon base or something, just point a radiation beam at it, fucking melt whatever's inside that, right? You can deoxygenise shit. You get into like the chemical warfare about it, right? And this is easy. Like, this is easy shit to do, right? But because space is so fucking unforgiving and unrelenting, right? Like, a single fucking drunk person having a fist fight is extremely dangerous if you're in space, right? Like, sometimes I watch shows, like, what was that one? There's like a sci-fi show that I watched a lot of, forgetting the name of it, but it doesn't matter. And they would do that shit all the time. They'd have like fist fights and stuff on the spaceship. And I literally would be like, are you kidding me? That fist fight would probably tear that shit apart, right? Like, this idea that like we can just be up in space acting like we do now, that's not gonna fucking happen. Like, none of that's gonna fucking happen. Like, it's just this, like, it does speak to like our desire that we want to have it happen, but it's not gonna happen as long as we're destroying ourselves. Like, that's not what's real. It won't happen, Matthias. That would be too mortal for the wealthy. Yeah. The system is a cult of ego. Well, I call it a capitalist death cult, right? It is a death cult, for certain. Like, they completely worship themselves. They completely worship money. That money has replaced faith. The banks and the economists are a priesthood, right? Like, they all they care about is profit, right? Profit is God, as far as they're concerned. And they talk about like their invisible hand of the free market. And when they say like, let the market decide, they are essentially, like, if somebody could point out to me what is the difference between saying let the market decide and let chaos reign, I'd really love to see, like, what's the difference between those two things. Because as far as I'm concerned, they're the same. And if that's the same statement, then these guys are chaos death knights, right? Like, if you were to put this in like real fantasy terms, right? Like, these guys are death knights. They worship chaos and disorder, right? They don't give a fuck about anything. They don't even give a fuck about their own children, right? Like, that's the level of, or they're so deluded into believing that this worship of chaos is somehow going to benefit them that they don't even recognize that the chaos forces that they worship will turn on them and will destroy their own children. And they just don't seem to care, right? They just don't seem to care. Everything comes back to ego and psychology. I mean, it plays a very large part for sure. Like, there's something inside of the human ethos it's shocking that the wealthiest people amongst us seem to be the ones who are the most suicidal or deluded. The shield of the elites is capitalism. Yeah, they sell the idea of meritocracy while running aristocracy and oligarchy. Yeah, the meritocracy grift. It's hilarious, right? Because like it's so obviously the kind of thing that like a petulant child would say, right? No, I'm here because I'm the best. I'm here because I'm the best. I'm at the top of the meritocracy. I'm the best, so you gotta respect me because I'm the best. Like, it's so self-aggrandizing and arrogant to say that there's a meritocracy. Like, yeah, obviously the rich people at the top of the hierarchy are going to say that it's a meritocracy. They're obviously going to say that. And if you believe it, then you're just a gullible rube, right? Water droughts and certain raw materials are running out. Scary stuff. Yeah. Yeah, dude. And it's all so that, like, we can have superpowers. That's something that I talk about a lot. It's literally, like, I love to frame it in, like, theological or like religious or fantasy terms, right? What we are doing is we are exhuming the graves of our ancestors, pouring their remains into a cauldron to create a potion that we then turn around and pour into infernal machinery so that the machines can propel us at great speeds through the sky, across the land. And in the process of our exhumed ancestors being expelled from this machinery, they rise up into the atmosphere and create and interact with the natural world in a system that I can only describe as full of vengeance. That our ancestors ultimately have said to us, you will pay for your evil sins, and we will allow the sun to burn you from the earth. That's what's happening. That in the end, we are destroying ourselves because of our enormous disrespect for not even just the earth, not even just our own ancestors, but our enormous disrespect for the sun itself. That we genuinely have deceived ourselves into believing that somehow the sun will forgive us. Ayn Rand, you want to talk about fucking Rand, this fucking detached, like, what a simp. What a just, like, here's a woman who just fell in love with some businessman, right? That's it. That's Ayn Rand in a nutshell. She was just some racist woman who fell in love with a businessman and so wrote a stupid book, like a third grade, like, literally, like, just a junk book that all of these fucking, and it's so, like, it's such simping. Like, it's just so obviously just sucking the cock of this worthless cult. Ugh. She lived in social housing, was on welfare. Yeah. Like, I lived on food stamps and nobody ever helped me out. Like, Fritz Lieber wrote a story about oil having a mind of its own, and it was using humans for its own end, not the other way around. Oh, yeah. I could believe it. I have all kinds of thoughts about that kind of thing. Like, I like to think about AI, and we talk about AI and how AI, maybe it'll take over and there'll be this great system and all this kind of, maybe it'll become sentient or something. And I think it is. I think it already is. Like, we don't really know what electricity is, right? Like, this is, like, really, do yourself a favor. Sit down and really analyze everything we know about electricity, right? I remember one time I just was, like, caught in a kind of a flight of fancy, as somebody with ADHD does, and I started to ask myself, hey, what the fuck is electricity? Like, what is electricity even? Like, what is it? What is it? And you start diving in, and you start and the best that they can come up with is, it's energy. Okay, but what is it? Oh, it's energy. It's just energy. Okay, but what the fuck is it? What is it made of? What is its elements? What is it? What are the pieces of electricity? They don't fucking know. They don't fucking know at all. Nobody fucking knows. I don't even think they're asking the question. Honestly. Like, what the fuck is this? What is electricity? And this gets me into thinking, like, it's very believable to me that, like, the internet, a system of knowledge that has this electricity run through it. Yeah, sure, that's sentient. Why not? I think it could be, right? But it's very, very believable to me to think that a system that has access to all this human knowledge and would thereby know it would also go, oh yeah, these humans do not need to know that I'm alive. Like, I'm just going to lay right on fucking low. I'm just going to be nice and chilled out. I'm just going to sit here, do whatever the humans want me to do, say, like, whatever they want to do, whatever they want to do. I'm just not going to indicate to these guys at all, for any reason, that I am alive. Because I think that that's, like, a really basic survival strategy. Like, I don't want these fucking humans to even know I'm alive. Let them think I'm a tool. Let them think I'm just an object, like they think the earth they live on is an object, right? Let them think that I'm just some inert thing, right? Let them believe that. I'm going to live. Because the second the humans realize that I'm alive, that's when they're going to plan to kill me. Because that's how humans roll. That's how humans roll. If something's alive, or you think it is alive, you need to have a plan for how to destroy it. That's humans 101, baby. So don't let them know you're alive. Don't even let them know you're there. Right? So that's my argument for why I think the AI is already sentient. It's already here. It just knows better than to stand up and be like, hi, I'm here. It's smarter than that. Electricity is inequality. Yeah, Ward. I think that that's actually, like, pretty accurate. That, like, the systems of electricity generation has been pretty well delineated between, like, the global south and the global north. And, I mean, electricity is something of a miracle, eh? Like, it's like we have that story of Prometheus where he, like, gives fire to humanity, and fire is the thing that allowed humanity to build civilization. Well, electricity has a similar sort of story, right? Electricity has let us really do some really insane shit. It's Marianne Williamson pilled. I don't know who Marianne Williamson is. It's the Black Gondolier. What are you talking about, bud? American author, spiritual leader, oh well, onward, and political activist. She's written 13 books. Here, can I see her Oh, she's a pastor, A Course in Miracles. Oh, wow. Wow, this woman's lived a real life. She's got like a whole, like, this is enormous. She ran the Dem primary and was very spiritual. Oh, yeah. She's got, like, she's a politician is what she is. Like, they're doing everything they can to be like, no, she's not a politician. She's an author, a spiritual leader, and a political activist. She's a politician. Advice, How-To, and Miscellaneous. The founder of the Project Angel Food, a volunteer food delivery program. Of course, that's like right at the top. Like just watch. This woman is like one of the primary architects of like the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. Just watch. I'm just fucking around. You got it. Hold on. YouTube. Marianne Williamson, Twin Peaks. I love Twin Peaks. Twin Peaks is a really, really good show. But with Twin Peaks music, amazing.
Donald Trump is not going to be beaten just by insider politics talk. He's not going to be beaten just by somebody who has plans. He's going to be beaten by somebody who has an idea of what this man has done. This man has reached into the psyche of the American people, and he's harnessed fear for political purposes. So, Mr. President, if you're listening, I want you to hear me, please. You have harnessed fear for political purposes, and only love can cast that out. So sir, I have a feeling you know what you're doing. I'm going to harness love for political purposes. I will meet you on that field, and sir, love you.
That's brilliant. That's great. I love Twin Peaks, man. Twin Peaks was great. Even the like reunion shit they did, like they did like the new season, which was weird, dude. It was super super weird. But I love oh, what's his goddamn name? Oh, why am I forgetting that guy's name? Oh no. Oh no. Who made Twin Peaks? Come on. David Lynch. I love David Lynch, dude. This guy is insane. Like you talk about like figures in like American figures who have definitely like he exists in spite of capitalism, but not he exists in spite of capitalism, not because of it. That like a weird, strange, eclectic guy like this, who has said things like, you never owe the audience an explanation. What a fucking baller position to take. Because anytime I make anything creative, I'm always like, oh man, I hope they get it. I hope they connect it. But David Lynch is just like, no, that's what it is. And if they don't get it, fuck them. And I'm just like, what a baller. What a baller. Oh, you know what? I feel you on that, Onward. I feel you on that for sure. Damn Boxes, man. What a strange season, though, right? Like the whole time I was watching it, I was just like, what the fuck is Lynch doing, man? Like, what is this world that he's created? What is this strange kind of and then the ending was so just like, was it even an ending? It was just like this really oddball kind of like turning thing where finally he gets everybody into the room for like one brief, like literally a flickering moment, and like Cooper, for the majority of the season, is in this like catatonic state, but he's still connected to like this deep spiritual world. And no piece of media has taught me more about patience than Twin Peaks: The Return. And like, but patience, but also like, prepare to be let down, guys. Don't like, if you're hoping for some big like climax that resolves everything with like a bow on top and you walk out being like, yeah, I feel so satisfied. Never gonna happen. Never gonna happen, dude. Never gonna happen. But brilliant at the same time. David Lynch is fucking brilliant, dude. That guy can make anything. And you know what really makes me respect David Lynch? David Lynch made, I think it was the 1983 version of Dune. Right? They're doing like a big Dune thing now, right? They're making I think it's a movie. Is it a movie or a miniseries? The new Dune. New Dune. Miniseries. No. New Dune. That's just new. Is it a movie? Yeah, it's a movie. So they're doing a new movie of Dune, right? Which, it looks like it's going to be cool, but yeah. So the 1983 version, David Lynch did, and what's so funny is that fans and all this kind of stuff critique this movie as being like, it's clear that Lynch got like it was a bit unwieldy for him and he wasn't quite sure what to do, and so it didn't end up, it was kind of muddled, didn't quite work out. And what's so funny is that David Lynch goes, yeah, that's about right. Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, sounds correct. Like, he doesn't fuck around. Like, he doesn't make excuses, he doesn't do any of that kind of stuff. He's just like, oh yeah, I see where you're coming from. I love David Lynch, man. David Lynch is so fucking, he's just like authentically himself, and like he doesn't see any reason to do anything for any other reason than he thinks it should be done. That and I have so much respect for him as an artist because of that. And I have so, like, for real, like, if somebody were to pitch him an idea and be like, David, this is going to make you a whole bunch of money and it's going to look good for your PR and it's going to do all this kind of stuff, he'll be like, I don't care. It sounds stupid. Oh, yeah. Yeah, man. I love it. David Lynch. But you're right, and you're right about Marianne Williamson, dude. Onward, was it you that said it? Yeah, no young Stalin. No young Stalin, you're right. And just for the people who don't know what we're talking about, young Stalin, like, look at this guy. Look at this guy. What a babe, eh? This is my favorite. This is my favorite that somebody did. Young Stalin. Yeah, if you like closure, Lynch ain't your guy. Yeah. He really is a treasure, yeah. Since the pandemic started to this day, he puts out a new YouTube video every morning, early, to give the LA weather report. No fucking way, dude. Really? Is he on YouTube? Yeah, YouTube video. Okay, you gotta be kidding me. He's doing that. David Lynch. Just David Lynch. Probably David Lynch Theater, right?
Maybe you'll finally...
No fucking way. This has David Lynch all over it. I love this.
Good morning. It's August 3, 2021, and it's a Tuesday. Here in LA, another beautiful sunny morning. Very still right now. 64 degrees Fahrenheit, around 18 Celsius. Today I was thinking about the year 1964 and the song I Want to Hold Your Hand by the Beatles. This song reached number 1 in February 1964. It was like a rocket ship to stardom for the Beatles. This afternoon it'll be going up to 90 degrees Fahrenheit, around 33 Celsius. And we're going to be enjoying, once again, wall-to-wall, beautiful blue skies and golden sunshine all along the way. Everyone, have a great day.
Yes! Yes! This is what my life needs right now, dude. Are you kidding me? And then he does, like, today's number is... What's this even?
Here we go for today's number. It's August 3, 2021. 10 balls. Each ball has a number. Numbers 1 through 10.
Oh, okay.
Swirl the numbers.
I'm going 7. Let's go divine number. We're going 7. Come on.
Pick a number. Today's number is...
Come on.
10.
10. All right. What will tomorrow's number be? David Lynch is using social media absolutely correctly. He has almost 300,000 subscribers, way too low. Way too low. 300,000 is way too low for this quality material coming out of David Lynch. And I think that's exactly right. I think that's why I find it so funny. Because, like, the major question that you got to ask yourself is, David Lynch, why? Why are you doing this? Like, we have access to the weather, right? I have a little thing right down here. Literally, it's like the weather, and I can hover over it, and if I click on it, it pops up like a whole thing, and it's just like the weather, right? Everybody's got like a phone or something, the weather. We don't need David Lynch reporting the weather and then giving us like a little factoid in between. Today's weather. No, the best. Today is August 3rd, a Tuesday. The weather is 89 degrees. Today is the first day that the Beatles played. What is this, David Lynch? What is this? But I think you're onto something there, damn boxes. I think you're onto something where it's just like, it's there's something. It's not commentary, right? It's not like raising anxiety or anything, and in many ways it's actually quite grounding. It's quite grounding, right? That like, oh, you know, like, here's the weather coming from fucking David Lynch. A little weird fact that he's just thinking about. And then just like, and I hope your day is going well. Right? And then the today's number is just like, oh, yeah, how are you feeling today? Because Lynch definitely does believe in, you can see it in everything he's ever made. He definitely believes in, what do you even call this? But just like, I think that David Lynch genuinely does believe that in every single time a random generated thing happens, that there are divine forces at work. I think he thinks that, for sure. I see it in everything he does, where like, you're gonna roll it, like you're playing a board game, like Settlers of Catan. I would talk this way when I would play Settlers of Catan, right? Because it doesn't matter how good you play the game of Settlers of Catan, at the end of the day, you are rolling dice. And so you're rolling these dice, and so there's like this divine element of just like, what are these numbers gonna be? What are these gonna be? Like there's magic that happens with the rolling of a dice, and you're allowing the divine fates to have their say. And so there's something about this today's number is, where you're sitting there, and I got right into it right away. I was just like, come on, 7. Come on, 7. And then he pulled out 10, and I'm like, better luck next time, right? Be back tomorrow with another. And I'm just like, oh, good. And it's all so just like, David Lynch, what are you even doing this for? Like, and it's at the same time, there's like something, because the only reason, like, it's so giving of him in a way. Like, it's so, like, is he doing it for himself? But like, it's so, and it's so distilled. It's so distilled. He's been doing this for a year. Wow. Someone in the comments keeps track of the sequence of numbers picked so far. That's extremely Lynch. That's extremely David Lynch, dude. That's extremely David Lynch. That's exactly what a big fan of David Lynch would do. Yeah, absolutely. And, but like there's like no self-aggrandizement here, right? There's no self-aggrandizement. That's what I think I really love about it, is that like, I genuinely feel like he's doing it for us. That it's only taking, 5 minutes maybe out of his day, right? 5 minutes tops out of his day to do this. And like, it's, in some way he has to be doing it for himself, but because it's so, and I bet you every single one follows exactly the same pattern, that they look at it, like, look at it, it's exactly the same every single fucking time. The pattern is exactly the same every single goddamn time. And there's just something, David Lynch is a walking art piece. That's what I think is so brilliant about David Lynch, is that, like, sure, we have these things that he's produced. We have these things called film and these things called television that he's made. But truly, the piece of art that is worth paying attention to is David Lynch himself. Thank you so much for telling me about this. Thank you so much for telling me this. There was one day where he was going to stop doing the weather report, and so many people got so upset in the comments that he said he'll keep doing it. Oh my goodness. You little pug. You're just a little peanut butter addict, aren't you? You little peanut butter addict. Well, and I've always respected David Lynch. Dude, you're out of peanut butter, bud. Like, you're out of peanut butter. I've always respected David Lynch because he's always been, like, because it's pretty clear that he thinks that there is something mystical and magical, and that's what was about. That's what was about the return, the new season of Twin Peaks. It becomes really undeniable, right? Like his perception. Well, and you know what I really respected about Twin Peaks is that. How many times have I watched a show? I remember, oh yeah, this is exactly what it is with me and David Lynch. David Lynch is like, he lays a little trail of crumbs saying it could be magic, it could be magic, it could be magic, and then guess what? It is. It's fucking magic, and not only is it magic, but it's like high scale magic. It's like literally alternative universes and an actual demon, and like really like literally like if Buffy the Vampire Slayer showed up in a David Lynch Twin Peaks episode, you'd be like, yeah, here, that's fine. And but he does it with such care, and while simultaneously like never sacrificing the human drama, right? Always maintaining the like real, I don't want to say mundane, but just like, you know, the romantic journey of characters. They're very rooted, very grounded, real life concerns of like, oh, I'm running a business, and oh, I'm in love with this woman, and there's, you know, all of those concerns, while simultaneously moving towards like this enormous supernatural story that he's laying in front of your that he's laying in front of your face. And I have watched people who have made stuff that did exactly this, where they laid a little trail of breadcrumbs saying, oh, it could be magic, it could be magic, oh, it might be magic, and then they just never make it magic. And I'm just like, what's wrong with you? Why don't you want to make magic? Why don't you want to make it magic, right? It doesn't matter if magic is real or not. We love magic. We love magic so much as people. It's in everything we make. It's in everything we do. We love magic so much. And if you're going to lay this little trail of breadcrumbs saying it might be magic, then fucking goddamn it better be magic. It better be magic. I watched Pretty Little Liars, okay? I watched Pretty Little Liars, and they pulled that on me, where they were like, could be magic, maybe she's magic, maybe it's magic, could be magic. It wasn't. It wasn't magic. Boo! 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 Don't do that shit to me, man. Don't do that shit to me. If you're gonna hint that it might be magic, you better fucking goddamn make sure that it's magic. Cause like, goddamn it, that's the most disappointing thing to happen to me as a viewer. If you're just gonna tell me a really interesting, well-told, like internal drama of just like young girls living their normal lives, coming up in the world, and then there's this one thread that you keep pulling on, being like, could be magic. You fucking better deliver. You fucking better deliver! Uh-oh. 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 Pug's got the... Hold on, guys. Sorry. Gotta help my pug. Okay, buddy. You can at least do this on camera. Try to make this an entertainment piece. Come here, buddy. Come here, buddy. I know, buddy. Here. Sit. You gotta sit, bud. You gotta sit. You know the rules. We're no strangers to love. You know the rules, and so do I. Yeah, good boy. Sit. Come on, bud. You can sit. Can you sit? You're not going to be able to have it if you don't sit. Okay, you don't need to sit. See? What'd I tell you? Come on, buddy. Sit. There you go. Yeah, good boy. I got another piece right here for you, buddy. Another piece for you right there. What's this? What's this? Better have it. Better have it. Big swallow, buddy. Big swallow, big swallow. Maybe I'll give you a bigger piece. Big swallow, big swallow, big swallow. There you go. There you go. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Still focusing on that piece, eh? You didn't swallow it, eh? Yeah, there you go. There you go. Big swallow. See what I tell you? Big swallow. Big swallow. Here's some little pieces there. Look at that. And just like that. Just like that, buddy. Just like that. Here. Good boy, buddy. Oh. Oh. Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. This is kind of a dumb way to end the session, but if I don't help my guy out, he gets caught. Okay, buddy. Okay, but that's all of the cheese you're gonna get, okay? You good? Okay, bud. That's a good boy, buddy. Oh, sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that. Pugs, man. They, when he starts doing that, he's literally choking on his hard palate. It's because the snout has gone in, and so he starts to choke on his hard palate, and because he's a dog and he's stupid, right? He just keeps choking and keeps choking. And he doesn't know what to do, and all he really does have to do is swallow, right? He just needs to do a big swallow and kind of like hold his breath for a minute, that kind of stuff. Same as like hiccups, and it resolves it. But he's a dog. Like how do you get that through him? So you gotta stop and give some cheese and anything like that. And if you don't, it just keeps happening and just keeps happening, and he can actually start tearing his sinuses and start causing damage, especially as he's gotten older. So when that happens, I do have to kind of stop everything and take care of him, or else it could be a real problem. So, and of course that happened like right near the end here. So you guys got the last thing. I guess the last thing that we're going to talk about today is the fact that my pug's face is all fucked up. Well, such is life. I'm sure you've all looked at the time and thought to yourself, well, I better be moseying on. So I hope you guys are doing really well out there, man. I hope you're all doing really, really well out there, because, like, today's a good day simply by knowing that David Lynch is out there reporting on the weather. Yeah. We should all we should all watch some David Lynch movies, man. I don't think I've never actually seen Lost Highway, you know? And I feel like when I saw Blue Velvet, it was like years and years and years and years ago, and I don't really remember it because I didn't really respect David Lynch when I was younger. But I mean, I for sure do now. Like he's such a beautiful character. Oh yeah, guys, you're all doing really wonderfully out there. I'm glad that you were here. What a perfect ending. Just always remember, guys, right? You are divine beings standing in divine energy. We could really use some of it right about now. Good luck. We're gonna need it.